What's interesting here is not only does sexualization not have a measurable effect on body image or sexism, but it actually exposes that we've been lied to. If you didn't catch it, studies that showed less evidence for expectancy effects tended to find less evidence for effects. This is scientist for studies that had an agenda made up evidence for their agenda. Or if you like my personal twist, if the research came out of movements like body positivity or feminism, they were bullshit. I have some thoughts on this, one being that people that think that Bayonetta is not a sexually objectified character are leaving out a major variable, and that is you as the player. Ultimately, the sexuality of Bayonetta is for the player, male or female, to be enjoyed and admired. The mental gymnastics people go through to characterize it as wholesome in comparison to other forms of sexualization is baffling. All these people are really doing is bullshitting themselves because the idea that a female designer could sexualize a character in a way that is sexually objectifying is incongruent with their belief system that relies on the idea that all women are equally repulsed and afraid of how men view women in video games.
It's not just that, it's also people justifying it because they like the character's personality. And
like she just did. Yeah, I guess so.
they're like, oh no, she's not sexualized. She's actually great. Literally what I did with Nikke a moment ago.
Yep.
Like it's fine to acknowledge that you both like a character for their personality and that they're sexualized. Body attraction is nature. Yes, it is. And I think when it comes to video games, nobody wants it to be realistic. At least nobody that I know would want video games to be realistic. It's an escape from reality.
Oops, there goes gravity. Yeah, like, yes, we agree.
If you want to collect waifus and have them all fawn over you, it doesn't mean that you want a real-life harem. It just means that that is so far removed from reality. But it's a nice fantasy. But it doesn't mean that you're gonna treat women in real life like shit. You can still respect women and want a harem in game.
But let's get back to Bayonetta. Don't get me wrong, I can tell the difference. Like, yes, it's all explained. It's her character, yada yada yada, but I don't care. I can still undress her like a Barbie doll. You see what I'm getting at here? The other is that all video game characters are ultimately objects. These are not real people. You can't go up to Tifa and tell her that you had dirty thoughts about her cleavage. Cammy doesn't know that I lost the match because I was distracted by her ass. Even if I scream it at the top of my lungs. This is so obvious it hurts. Most people know that video games are a work of fiction and that there is a distinct difference between what happens in a video game and the social expectations of real life. How many— Did you scream it at the top of your lungs, Liv? No, I've never— I'm not someone that shouts at video game screens, unless it's I've had a couple moments, but like, definitely, it's not my nature to do that. Many studies are there that prove that you can shoot everyone in the street in GTA and turn off your PC and walk an old lady across the road without having a single murderous thought.
Okay, that is the whole early 2000s do video games cause violence debate. No, it doesn't.
Yeah,
okay.
Crime actually went down.
There has been maybe one or two edge cases where it did, but those are the people that cannot distinguish fiction from reality. It's not the game that was at fault there. It's the fact that they did not get help soon enough. So, no. Video games do not cause violence, just as video games do not cause sexual objectification of real-life women. I think when it comes to real-life violence and misogyny, you should be looking at people like Andrew Tate. I'm sorry, that's the problem.
I don't know enough about his situation at the moment. Like, I know a little bit about it, but, yeah. I think the most annoying thing for me is that because of him, I think people attack the fact that I say female and male, and that's annoying. I just feel like they owe me a Bugatti if they're going to accuse me of that.
It's not the video games. I don't think video games should even be part of that discussion. I think you should be looking at the influencers, the actual real-life people who are not fictional, and promote that kind of rhetoric. If we're going to talk about the lack of sexualization in modern games, I have many things to say about that, but I'll be polite. Yeah, it's mostly just people complaining about it. A majority is fine with it, but it's the minority that complains about that.
Is it a minority? I would say that it is less people. Like, I'd say that more people are okay with it than not okay with it. But look at my comment section. A lot of people disagree with what I had to say for exactly the reasons I put out. Like, people, I I think Virus is a little bit guilty of this as well. She kind of thinks that I'm punching at ghosts. Scroll in my comment section, you'll see it. It's not just on Twitter or like in this magic box somewhere. These are points of view that are taught in university.
But they're loud enough. It's a loud minority.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
it's completely fine to have sexualized characters in games. If you don't like it, you don't have to play those games. There are plenty of games
There we go.
that don't do that, you know?
I think the great tragedy here isn't that males making video games are creating misogynists, but that there are a loud minority of people that don't understand how the average male even perceives sexuality, which is kind of...
I swear I did not pre-watch this.
Now, all this does... It's funny because, like, I kind of, like... I have watched the videos before, but, like, I didn't memorize anything, or... So I am kind of reacting to it. But, like, I said it, then she said it, and then I said it again in the video. Nothing to address that a great deal of females feel put off by cheap sexualization in video games. This is understandable, but we can refer back to the wristwatch study for that. This is going to address concern number 3, that being that sexualization is distracting and breaks immersion. In fact, I can give an example of when I found the sexualization of a female character in a video game a little weird. I recently did a review on Red Alert 2, which is a great game. They had Carrie Werer acting as Tanya, who is supposed to basically be the military version of Lara Croft. Her in-game voice lines are pretty gun-ho and, well, she sounds like a 90s action hero. In the acted scenes, though, she was just annoyed the whole time. Not action hero annoyed, like Karen annoyed. That was confusing enough, but what was really off-putting to me was when she suddenly fancies you at the end of the game and wants to go on a date. In the scene, she suddenly reveals her sexy black dress beneath her coat. Now, this isn't upsetting to me, like, I don't really care, but because of the contrived romance and the split personalities, she definitely...
Isn't that just a 90s thing, though?
The game came out in 2000, but yeah, I guess it's a 90s thing. Yeah, but it's still a good example.
Isn't that just a 90s thing?
Like, yeah, I don't think it being from the past invalidates it as a point.
Yeah, sometimes they put sexualization in weird places where they haven't really thought out what the plan was with that exactly.
Anyways, scenarios like this are more prevalent in the eyes of females. I'm often going to gloss over the scenarios where the boob jiggle physics doesn't make sense, or the moments when the female character doesn't act like a female character, because ultimately, it's pleasing to me that they do that. So what is someone to do here where they feel like they're the minority? Where they feel like they would like a video game, if it wasn't for that one thing? If you could just flip a switch and make the sexualization more nuanced, or more in line with your interests.
The focus on the booty there is amazing. Personally, I like...
She likes Raiden. I like Raiden. Not in that way, but I like Raiden a lot. Raiden Tush? Yeah.
The jiggles. It doesn't have to be realistic. I just personally like the jiggles. And even as a life to the artist, I make... Okay, so in case some of you didn't know this, I make VTuber models. I rig them. This model that you see right now, made it myself.
This video is rigged! Okay, sorry. That was a dumb joke.
I drew it and rigged it. And yeah, she has some unrealistic bounds. But you know, that's what we're going for here. That's my personal preference. Though, on my model, it's not as, like... it's not as...
I actually really like her model.
Exaggerated. But I have made models where it was much more exaggerated than this, and I enjoy doing that. You know, fiction doesn't have to be realistic. That's it. Also, I missed half of what this guy just said because I was focusing on the booty. I'm sorry. He definitely made a point with that one. I'll tell you how to piss off everyone and look like a clown. Start advocating that developers retcon and purge their current IPs and fan bases. This is one of the most insane things I've seen in our modern era, and I think a lot of it is built on the false narrative that video games breed sexism. But let's move on because there's smarter options. The smarter option is to advocate for new games and IPs you want to see. This does still get backlash at times from real misogynists, because again, they do exist, and there are misogynists that play video games. Now, while this is smarter, I don't think it quite works, and once
the
again,
League one
I'm
is
going to make an
crazy.
appeal to common sense here. From my point of view, misogyny in video games isn't wanting to see over-sexualized characters. Misogyny in video games is harassing women on mic.
I agree.
The difference being, one is about a fictional character, the other is the way you talk to real women. There's a difference, and yes...
I agree with this.
there are misogynistic people in video games, as is evidenced by the fact that women get so much shit when they get a mic. But
I will make a distinction here though. You can give a woman shit on mic and not be a misogynist. So like what you say is very important. I don't think that women should be excused or excluded from like banter and things like that because we're worried about if we're going to be labeled sexist for it. I mean this in a very like, do you know what I mean? Like if I get if I say something stupid like, guys, 2 + 3 is 7. And they make fun of me for saying that. It shouldn't matter whether I'm a guy or a girl. They should be able to make fun of me for that. But yes, if the reason that you are being like this is because you dislike or hate women, or you are picking on the fact that they're a woman, or like the sound of their voice, or you are attacking them because of those things, then yes. And I do think that that is very prominent. I do think it's the biggest problem. I actually think it's the biggest problem for women. That you can be careful what you say, but also single out someone for being woman. That's the hardest part, differentiating, because someone can be very... Yes, yeah. People can be like really passive aggressive too. Like it can be really subtle. I don't know how to fix it. I don't. I wish so, like, I don't know how to fix it other than taking away anonymity from everyone.
this ain't it.
If 46% of gamers are female in the US, and we can extrapolate that to the entire Western audience, and let's assume that they reach some sort of consensus on how they want games to change, then those games would already exist to fill the demand. This leads me to believe one of two things, and it's likely a mixture of them. The first is that only Omega-level nerds even talk about these issues, and the broad population of gamers just consume games and don't care about the quality of the content or the future projection of the hobby. There is no consensus, and there aren't enough female gamers that care enough about it to want the change. This is the simple explanation. The second is that maybe there aren't as many female gamers as we think there are playing games as a hobby. Think about this. You can make money by... I know that I know what's coming up. And this is one of my biggest regrets when making the video. Playing video games. Or at least there's a chance to make money by playing video games by streaming over on sites like Twitch. How many of you work a job you don't want to work, but the pay is good, or it enables you to live a lifestyle you enjoy? So then is it not possible that there are a percentage of both males and females? I want to just stop here. I say, so like very important, I say a percentage. I don't say that it's a high percentage. I don't say that it's the most important part of the 2 points that I make. I just say that it exists. That is all. I said this earlier, that people focus on the length of time it takes for me to explain something, but it takes a long time for me to explain this, and that's why people think that I think that it's like this huge thing, but I don't actually. Females that earn a living playing video games online, but are not interested. That's why I don't actually say anything wrong. I'm 100% right. But because people get mad about it and that's what they focus on, I regret saying it. In the landscape of games.
Why is he not considering bisexual women, which there are a lot of? Why is he not considering lesbians? Why is he not considering the fact that women like women? He completely skips over.
Because it isn't that many people as a total. That's why. But like, I do, like, they do exist.
That point. He's like, okay, either women don't care about it, or women only play video games on streams for money. It's like, have you considered that...
I didn't say that they don't care about it. I didn't say that. I actually said that there isn't a consensus, which is, it means that there is a mixture of people that care and don't care. It's a different thing.
We enjoy the fan service. It's like, this isn't even in this guy's mind.
No, it's 100% in my mind. And it's exactly what I said. I said that there wasn't a consensus.
Many who engage in voice chat probably don't realize how uncomfortable they may be making others feel with their comments. It's basic respect. it's basic respect for other human beings. It is literally the bare minimum.
Maybe they never want things to change because their popularity is tied to a specific game. Now, out of males and females, and considering what we've just learned about the tastes of males, which sex do you think is more likely to be able to leverage playing video games as a business without caring that much about video games? For a case study, let's consider Amaranth, who is the top female streamer on Twitch. Now, to be fair, she doesn't usually play video games, but she did play quite a bit of Diablo 4 while the game was relevant. However, we can surmise that Amaranth doesn't really love video games, and she has gone on record stating that her true passion is animal rescue. Here's her words in an interview in 2021. To quote, "My passion at the end of the day is animals, and I want to do an animal rescue using my platforms, but right now we're just saving money, milking it while it's good." End quote. Now there's another layer to this. You know it, I know it, everyone knows it. Amaranth's main business, or a large source of her business, comes from selling her porn content online in the form.
Okay, I don't think this is a great example. This is a example of...
It only needs to be a example. It doesn't need to be a good one. Like, I'm trying to prove that something exists. I'm not trying to prove that it's, like, a lot of people.
Someone playing video games and not enjoying video games, but it makes money. But by far, most women, especially smaller streamers, by far most smaller, like, female streamers, actually like video games.
Yeah, I know. I'm friends with some of them. They're on my Discord server.
Big surprise! I feel like this guy doesn't quite understand how the female brain functions. And that's okay, because I don't quite understand how the male brain functions either. I'm not a guy, so how...
Yeah, she's right. I don't 100%, like, it's not... How can you know something you can't experience? It's like... I can imagine what childbirth is like, but, like, I can't experience it. So, like, yes, I don't understand a woman's mind in the sense that I can't experience it. But I don't think that I've been unfair. I've used mostly studies to come to my conclusions. I do talk to women. I'm not someone that lives in a bubble. I don't. I go out to work. I work in an office with women. I work in a female-dominated industry, so it's not like I am an island to myself.
Would I know exactly? But he's just not acknowledging.
We're all in our own bubbles. Checkmate. Yeah. What I'm trying to say is that my bubble includes women. But I think she's making the point that my bubble doesn't include women.
That women can like fan service in video games. He's not acknowledging it in the slightest. I feel like this guy goes off of...
No, that's not true. Just because I don't say it, like, just because I don't give examples of it. Actually, I actually acknowledge it. I said it in the Devil May Cry section, and Otome. I did actually say that women sometimes enjoy it. Like, the words are in the video. I just didn't spend a long time saying it. And that's what people get stuck on.
Of his own bias. And that's okay, because I'm going off of my own bias as well. But
that's what they all say.
There is a larger conversation to be had, and I feel like...
But to advocate for her here, I do think she believes your bubble includes women. Just think that she doesn't see that as being enough to understand women. Yeah. But I don't think that I need to... How to say? Are we getting to the argument that I need to be a woman to even... I need to be a woman to even grapple with the concept? Is that where we're... Like, is that where that road ends?
He's not trying to include women in that conversation. No, he's specifically picking out the edge cases, I think.
No clue, but man, I'd love to ask her. It'd be... Yeah, I wonder. Because I think that's the point where you lose hope, isn't it? Like, if you really believe that men can't understand women and women can't... Then you also have to believe that women can't understand men. Then why are we even having a conversation at all? I think it's more of a thing that you can get close to it, though, right? I think I think the important thing to remember is like, why would you be mad at me for trying to understand it? Or why would I be mad at a woman for trying to understand men? I wouldn't be. Yeah. I don't know. I'd be interested to know.
And presenting them like they're the majority, which is a little bit disingenuous to me.
In essence, there are many female streamers.
Oh wait, is she saying that I don't represent the majority of women? I think statistically I do. I provide the studies that show that. I think her saying that she is the majority is the like, if she can provide a study for it that says that she's part of it, sure, I'll consider it.
Which is a little bit disingenuous to me.
In essence, there are many female streamers that use Twitch and the gaming community.
I thought she was saying you aren't using examples that are representative of the majority of women. Oh, you mean in streaming? He's picking out edge cases. Oh, yeah. Okay, so yes, Amaranth is an edge case, but I actually expand on this.
Community as a street.
Let me go back a bit.
And presenting them like they're the majority, which is a little bit disingenuous to me.
In essence, there are many female streamers that use Twitch and the gaming community as a street corner from which they can peddle pornography. Now, I cannot speak on behalf of Amaranth, but if you were to ask her if she played a lot of Diablo 4, she would probably say yes. If you asked her if she played Diablo 4 on stream because she loves gaming, I'm not sure what answer.
Gonna be real honest with you here. If every female streamer that comes up in your Twitch recommended is peddling an OnlyFans, then you need to assess what you have been feeding the algorithm to get your homepage to recommend stuff like that to you. Am I wrong for saying that?
Yes, you are wrong for saying that. And I'll tell you why you're wrong for saying that. You're wrong for saying that because that isn't my reality. That's something that you're guessing. I used Amaranth as an example because she is the most famous Twitch streamer, and it's easy to use her as an example. I actually go on to clarify that it's not Amaranth in particular that I'm talking about.
Because when I go to Twitch, my homepage is either games I'm interested in or VTubers.
I'm still confused at what makes her a bad example, though. Amaranth, I mean. She isn't a bad example. She's the perfect example. That the only thing I'm trying to say is that these people exist. I'm not trying to say that there's a lot of them, but people that get hung up on this think that I am trying to say that there's a lot of them. I say a percentage. It could be 1%. It could be 2%. I don't know what that percentage is because there aren't stats for it. I'm just saying that it exists. And that it exists more for women than men. That's all.
And that is what I have been feeding the algorithm. That is what I watch. I watch games I like, and I watch VTubers. I shouldn't compare.
Yeah, I get you. I guess more accurately is that I don't know what Virus doesn't think... Why Virus doesn't think it's a good example. I think it's something on an emotional level, because I don't... Okay, so this is true, because I saw this in the comments as well. Women don't like being... women that just want to play video games, and I think Virus is probably one of these, don't want to be associated with Amaranth. They don't want to be seen as the same thing. I didn't say that they're the same thing. But she thinks that I am, and that's an attack on people see that as an attack on a personal level because they're like, oh, he thinks all women are like this. In fact, I think she uses the words later on that I think that all women don't care, and the rest of them are all business women that are doing OnlyFans. which is not representative of what I actually said. And so like for her, I think it's this thing of like, I don't have a place for her in that picture at all. But she is in that picture. She's in the part of not having a consensus, not the people that don't care. There are people that don't care, and there are people that really care, but there aren't that many of them statistically. And I use the stats to show this in part 2.
Marath to any gamer, she doesn't game. Yeah, and she has admitted that she has no interest in gaming. She's just trying to peddle her business, and that is fair. Make that money, I guess. But it is.
Oh, I don't think that it's a good thing. But that's purely because of Twitch TOS. Like, you know that she's skirting Twitch TOS, so like on a very basic cognitive level, you can understand that what she's breaking to Twitch TOS through like this tiny loophole, which shouldn't exist.
Not fair to compare.
But like, it's not the point of the video.
That to the overwhelming majority of female streamers who actually are interested in video games. I just think that, I mean,
I didn't compare them.
This is from a personal bias, clearly, and it's not necessarily reflective of the reality.
Now, obviously, this behavior is a spectrum, and I'm using Amaranth as an example, but she's not really the target here. The female streamers that I'm thinking of are lower down, the ones that aren't really taking risks. They kind of just play League of Legends and generally keep things above board. Maybe they have a discount code to Rogue Energy or something, maybe a cheeky cosplay here or there, where they felt they looked cute, and their dominantly male community nods along and says, yes, very cute, you should do another one. Here's my question. If Twitch turned around tomorrow and said, Twitch will only have video game streaming, Twitch will no longer be a platform you can earn money on, you can't embed links, and the moment you try to verbally or otherwise advertise anything other than the video game you're playing, you will be banned for 8 hours.
Male streamers will leave Twitch so fast as well.
Yes, I'm about to say this.
I am baffled that he thinks that would only affect female streamers.
I never said that.
If you think that not being able to make money off of a streaming platform anymore will only affect women, that is so far removed from reality. If there is no prospect of earning from streaming anymore, then the majority of male streamers will leave as well. I don't understand how he could bring this up as a point.
How many streamers, male or female, would stream? I
She's about to understand.
obviously don't know the answer, but I think...
Okay, male or female. I was premature on that one. That's not where I thought he was going. Streaming is often used as a way to make money, obviously for smaller streamers like myself.
It's a terrible way to make money. I don't make enough money from being a small streamer. What the... But like, yeah, I get what she's saying. This is like, this is not a sustainable income.
Money doesn't factor in as heavily as for big streamers. Though I still do appreciate the ad revenue I'm getting from YouTube.
Yes.
I do appreciate the little bit of extra money sometimes.
We all do.
Those who just want to chat stream or reaction stream. My main forms of content are gaming.
Yeah. She admits it. I do want to say overall, I think Virus is how to say it. I think she's a good egg. Like I do think I don't hold against her that she's doing React content, which doesn't mean that she's immune to my criticism. But it does mean that people prematurely say things and try to mind read, and I will call that out. Now, and she gets like hung up on a few things or gets them wrong. But overall, we agree. Like, I don't think that we're in this. It's not like we're oceans apart at all. And I think that a lot of what she thinks makes sense because it's kind of like what I think. So, like, yeah, she seems pretty cool from what I've seen so far. Yeah, I think she's cool. Not just because she watched my video.
And reaction/commentary. So I definitely fall into the typical VTuber content. But I hope you guys enjoy it here. I think he genuinely thinks that women can't enjoy video games.
No, I don't think that. I think that would have been an easier sentence to swallow if she wasn't genuine about it. That's a complete mischaracterization of what I think.
I think his algorithm has been feeding him one too many OnlyFans girls.
No. I don't have a problem with OnlyFans girls, and I don't watch OnlyFans girls, and it's not really anything to do like. No, is the answer to all of this. She's just making. I think at this point she's riffing on her own ideas, and like she's like building a profile of me, and it's like it's not. She's just not very good at it.
But I generally think that the cut would be more severe for females. Let me know what your prediction would be in the comments. What I'm getting at here is that nowadays there are incentives to play video games beyond the personal enjoyment of playing video games. I suspect that of the 46% of female gamers, there is a percentage that are actually closer on the spectrum to businesswomen. Now, just to be clear, I'm not excluding.
It's a good discussion. You add additional interesting context to the base video. Yeah, I always try to do that. We have been here for 3.5 hours on a 46-minute video. I do pause a lot and talk, and I especially like having a discussion with chat about this. Yeah, I cannot speak for other women. I can only speak for myself, but I have been playing video games since I was 4 years old. And I suspect for a lot of women, it's the same. Because we grew up in a time when video games became more...
It is a lot of women, but not a lot of women in comparison to all the women that exist. That are like in the total of how women spend their money, it's not a lot. And I want to be clear about this because it goes back to the marketing thing that she got completely wrong. It's about how people spend money. It's not about how they feel. So, for instance, my wife likes the anime character with the big boobs. And then she goes and buys a Korean drama. She doesn't buy the anime figure. She likes that it's there, but she doesn't spend money on it. That's a very important distinction.
Or, like, accessible, mainstream. So, for me, I would still be playing video games. It's not...
It's a big game of would you rather, really. Yeah. Even if you like all the options present. Yes, exactly. It's like how people budget.
Not earning me anything at the moment anyway, so I'd still be here. I cannot speak for other women, but I love video games, personally.
Yeah, there would definitely be women that would stay and love video games. I agree.
I grew up with Nintendo games. From the age of 12 until 19, I played World of Warcraft. I played various other MMOs. I've always been into video games. So, as I said, cannot speak for other women, but if this is a real thing that I enjoy, then it is not a stretch to say that this is a real thing that many other women enjoy.
No, she's right about this. There are a lot of women that enjoy it. But not in comparison to the total market.
Including that is also true for males, but I suspect that number to be lower as a percentage due to findings in video game addiction studies that conclude that males distinctly feel more rewarded when playing video games that involve territory control. I know that's very specific, but think it through. A lot of video games boil down to territory control or an allegory of it. So appropriate...
That is super specific. You are so not factoring in other kinds of video games right now. It's like he's only talking about first-person shooters here.
That's why I say I think she has a bias against first-person shooters. It's all the studies that I did in the video are linked in the description. She could have clicked on them to read them, but she didn't. And she would have then had also the perspective of whether she believed the points were valid or not. She may have also understood them a bit better, but like she got the wristwatch thing completely separated. I think if she just read the study, maybe she would have got it. But the territory control study, how it worked was that you were hooked up to this game where you needed to click on dots, and if the dots if you clicked on the right dots, it would advance a green bar over a red bar. And that's how it worked. And guys were just more rewarded for playing that game on a brain chemical level. women did it well, like they played the game well, they just didn't feel the rewards as much. So it's not necessarily like it's too shallow to say, oh, it's just first person shooters, because it is first person shooters, you're right about that, but it can be as something as simple as diminishing a health bar. Like literally, if you look at the study, it's a green area taking over a red area. Just switch the colors around. It's a health bar. This can things like diminishing health bars are taking territory. Things like collecting all of the Nikkeis in a box is taking territory. It's a far more broad concept than just the objective of the inside the video game. I mean, territory control could mean so many things, though. I would say my satisfaction from dominating in a game in Titanfall 2 is territory control, but my expanding my farm in Stardew Valley is also territory control, FPS or not. Yes, exactly. So, like, when I say a lot of things are territory control or an expression of it, or how many parts of the map you have unlocked in an MMO, that's the same thing. Like, in the context of the study, literally everything in video games can be likened to it, can be drawn to it. You can draw that parallel. But yeah, that's the study. I'm not going to show the study now, but it is there in the description. And if you click on it, it actually shows you a video of it. Ironically, I think the study was used to try and say that guys were, like, in the abstract, I think they link it to say that, oh, because guys are so territorial, they are more prone to toxic masculinity. I can't remember if it says exactly those words, but yeah. What is the alternative to territory control, though? Let me think about this. Creative games? Games where you're creating something? Maybe some of the more cozy games? In the sense where men are rewarded more to territory control, what are the women rewarded more with? There's nothing to say that they need to be. They might be rewarded for something completely different. That wasn't part of the scope of the study. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing to say that there has to be a reverse, or not a reverse, a same thing for women. If I had to guess, though, like, let me just imagine for a moment, and this is just my imagination. I envision that women love enchanting people. And by that, I mean, like, being within, like, social control of situations. If that makes sense. I don't want to use the word manipulative. I feel like there is, though, whether or not it has to be there. Oh. Well, what do you think it is? I'd love to know your point of view. That makes sense completely, really. That's probably why visual novels appeal more to them. A lot more, if that's correct. It's just my guess. I'll have to ask. I'll ask my wife later. We'll see what happens. I actually asked these questions to the woman that I work with as well. And a lot of them don't play video games. Some of them do. But I asked them questions like, did you try video games? How did you feel when you tried video games? Do you think you'll ever play video games again? What were the things that were really attractive to you? That's what I kind of base my answers off, but they are all anecdotal. I don't have any evidence for it. Probably something along the lines of that enchanting stuff. I'd say that women value developing a rich social network to be more broad, though. Yeah. I think that's a better way of saying it. And like, yeah, I think that's grand. Like, I think that's awesome.
Creating established IPs is gross, and maybe females don't exactly have the voice they think they do. The best way, the very best way to see the world of video games you want to see is to put your head down, make the game you want to see, and get in there with everyone else. This is how video games started, and this is how new ideas are being created, and these ideas shape the future of gaming. What's interesting is that most new genres and new ways of engaging with video games
She skipped a bit there.
are not top-down. The commercial gaming industry doesn't necessarily govern the direction of gaming because changing direction is expensive and risky. The commercial gaming industry's aim is to preserve the status quo and maximize profits within that framework. It's gamers, be that male or female, that set the direction when they invest in game creation. What has been true since the dawn of time and will be true until the sun dies is that great games will flourish. So make great games, and if they have sexualization, then do it your way and be the change.
I think the skips are more like she trimmed the VOD rather than actually skipping the video in real. Yeah, she's not skipping it in real time, but I feel it in my soul. And it's not because it's her fault or anything, but like, it's like, bro, you're skipping my best arguments. You're skipping my best work. You know what I mean? But I don't hold it against her. I just feel like, what if I said something that gave a good amount of context to what I just said, and then you criticize it? Like, it leaves holes for people to create strawmen. That's what I feel about it. Like you said, it's all rigged.
Like I mentioned before, solo development and modding is an open playing field. There are no gates. Gamers have never had so much freedom to engage in shaping the world of gaming. Sadly, the stupid option is the easiest option, and people are kind of like a mixture of cats and water, so they're going to take the easiest path and screech the entire way down. But the old adage is still true: anything that is really worth doing is hard work. All this to say, if you really want this change, the ball's in your court. There are already women out there working toward a more female-inclusive future. I would love it if there were more games that were focused on the female perspective. I mean,
I should have done a continuous scroll there. I hate myself for that.
play them, but maybe my wife will. That would be nice. We're drawing to a close here, and
I regret saying that way because it really trips people up.
Again, we're just not considering that a lot of the over-sexualized games are made by women. At least the character design is by women. This is a female perspective. I feel like there is just that touch of misogyny in.
I'm not talking about it in terms of whether a woman made it or not. I'm talking about it in terms of marketing.
This video. I'm gonna get shit for saying that.
Because you deserve it. I don't take the word lightly.
I know I will. I know I'm 100% gonna get shit for saying that, but there is a misogynistic bias in this video.
We'll get to that because the video is almost at the end.
Even for shooters, Warframe is still great. Nothing like what he thinks a shooter is. Yeah, I think a large part of the Warframe community is female as well.
Misogyny throws are scary, man. Being called that is not something simple. Yeah, no, it's like the R word, right? Like, I think it's the weird thing here, right? Is it actually only hurts the people that aren't it. Like, the people that are it don't care that you're calling them that. And like, yeah, I read it in the comments, and that's fine. Like, I don't care about it in the comics. But she's my coworker. Or let me put it this way: we're we're two different shops on the same street. I'd expect her to understand that, like, she wouldn't like it if I called her a misandrist for saying what she said about the surge lines. You know, that she basically inferred that men should be doing it because they're more physically capable, which, by how she is speaking about me now, I could use against her, and I could do the same thing. So, like, I don't appreciate it. I don't appreciate it. But, yeah, she said it, so there it is.
Well, I won't play them, but maybe my wife will. Yeah, that's an odd statement to make.
Let me explain it. I should have said I probably won't play it. And I can explain this very easily. my wife tells me that I hate fish. And I will say, I don't hate fish. I like fish. But I also like beef and chicken and pork. So, like, if we go to a restaurant, I'll order something with pork because that's my favorite. And she'll say, you hate fish. But no, it's not that I hate fish, it's that there's pork there. So, like, if you gave me an empty bowl of rice and you said to me, do you want fish in it or you just want to eat the empty bowl of rice? Put the fish in the rice. I will eat the fish with the rice. I actually like fish. So, like, even if I might enjoy something, I enjoy other things more. So, like, I'm very, like, I like the games as they are now. If there are a bunch of new games where it more appeals to women, I don't see myself as likely to enjoy it. Like, I didn't enjoy the Otome game. Like, that was actually tedious for me. I didn't get very far into it. So I should have used probably. I should have said probably. It also kind of misses the point that I said that I want the game to exist for my wife. Like, I want women to have good things. That's what I mean. I think, like, it's a bit of, like, reaching for something, like, it's the point where, oh, he said it that way. The mask has slipped. He's revealing his true intentions. I'm just bad at English sometimes. Like, do you know what I mean? I'm just probably not going to play it. Like, am I not allowed to have a preference now? He's not going to play a game made by a woman? I just have a preference. I think that people are looking for something to hold on to, and I miss one word, and it's a big thing. There's always this overbearing idea on the internet where if you don't consume something, you automatically don't like it. I've never been able to understand why that is. Yeah, I just prefer other things. Like, other things are better for me.
I think his perception of women is just off, and that is the core of what is wrong with the arguments he's been making in this video. I don't fault him.
I mean, I disagree because you've minced my words. You failed to comprehend my most important arguments that made you think that. That's your fault, not mine. But even if that were true, does it mean that my arguments are wrong?
I don't fault him for his black and white approach to the subject matter. He is basing the stance on his own perspective. That is.
No, I'm basing it on studies, which are not my perspective. It's women's perspectives and men's perspectives, cataloged. Some of it is mine, absolutely, but I'm using the studies to determine that, not just my point of view.
Is fine. I actually enjoyed the video and the points he brought up. Yes, he did bring up a couple of really good points, and me reacting to this is adding to the conversation. I'm not necessarily saying that he's wrong on every point.
Thank you.
And that he shouldn't have.
I actually think we agree on the most important point.
Made this video because I do think this is an important conversation to bring up. I'm just bringing a down bad female perspective to this conversation. So don't see this as me like talking down on this video. Rather see this.
I mean, you said my views are misogynistic. What do you mean? How can that not be talking down?
As me adding to.
Hanlon is never a tribute to malice, that which is adequately explained by stupidity. As mean as stupidity sounds. Yeah. Yes, like me saying I won't play games made from a woman's perspective. It was, I should have put probably in there. That's it. But even if I do say it that way, it's not really the big gotcha that people think it is. I literally, after that, say that I think that it will be really great for my wife, and like, I mean that as an extension for all women. I want them to have good things.
The larger conversation that he is bringing up.
I always suspected that things like feminist frequency and co were bullshit, but it's crazy to me that our best study on the topic is largely ignored because it doesn't fit the narrative of our time. I feel equal parts vindicated and angry, and I think I'm justified in feeling this way too. For so many years, there has been this sexist movement that has infiltrated our general populace and demanded that I feel shame for something that has never had a negative bearing on my personal life as a married man. Not claiming that there aren't damaged people that cannot interface with fiction, but most people aren't like that. I think people tend to try to focus on how they're different more than how they are the same. Men and women are not different species. We are far more the same than different. There are differences, and we've been explaining them, but anytime there is a behavior that is difficult to understand or accept, it's far easier to denounce the behavior than try to understand it. I see this as a modern plague in our thinking. I want to recognize that I understand that there is a deficiency in video games aimed toward female tastes, especially in the realm of sexualization where it's financial.
Okay, I think he gets most of his female perspectives on this from Twitter.
No.
I think that's what the problem is.
No, and I don't think that it's a problem. I don't get my perspectives from women on Twitter. In fact, I don't think I've opened Twitter for quite a while. After I released the video, someone messaged me on there and I opened it. But I don't look at Twitter very much anymore. And probably has no girlfriend. Shut up, Floaty! I have a girlfriend. My wife is real.
Twitter is loud and annoying, and it does not represent the majority view on things.
Yeah, but like, you can't really say that they're not people, right? Like, let's assume that I did get my perspective from Twitter. They're people. So they have a perspective, and that perspective, like, where do video game companies announce their gaming news? They all make announcements on Twitter. So these people are interacting with the video game companies. They do have an influence on how video games are going to go. So like, they might not play video games, maybe. A lot of them do. I think a lot of streamers are on Twitter because it's the only way to propagate like that you're going to go live to a large number of people, because Twitch doesn't have that function. So it's not like there aren't people on there. And I think they're like, do we just ignore certain social platforms because they are deemed irrelevant? What about people on Reddit? Because like, people have this point of view that like, oh, all the feminists are on Twitter and all the incels are on Reddit, or maybe the other way around. I don't know. Like, I think it's convenient because one of them's blue and one of them's red. But they're still people, they're still perspectives. I don't think that they're a crazy minority, because when I post on YouTube, I get those comments as well. It might be an AI, never saw her. It could be.
I feel like the image that he has in his head on what the majority of women think might not be the correct one. This is just me adding.
It's not what I think. Like, I know my wife fairly well, but I don't base everything I know on my wife or on my mother or on my sister or on my nieces. Those come into play, or my colleagues, or like, I feel like I have to name all the women, because like, if I don't, like, I get labeled as someone that sits at home and doesn't talk to people. I get my perspective on where they spend their money, and how the research goes. That's how I base it. I think Virus hangs on the idea that the people who view this as an issue are far fewer than it seems, is because since she's part of the woman demographic that doesn't want to be associated with the viewpoint, she doesn't agree with it. It's like you said earlier with Amaranth being a bad example thing. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, it's funny because it's like, oh, she's attacking me because she agrees. Which is like it's kind of an interesting dynamic, isn't it? I don't know if that's in bad faith to say, but I understand if it's the case. A bad crowd that you're inherently connected to is something you naturally want to disconnect from, after all. Maybe. Yeah. I mean, I think it might be that she just doesn't, she isn't aware of it because she hasn't studied it. Like, she thought that 50% of Nikkei gamers were women, when the actual ratio is 7-3. So, like, purely just based off that, does she know really where she stands? I don't know.
Who is not loud on Twitter. Someone who just...
Oh yeah, but okay, so like, let's say it is a minority and they're really loud. It's worth shutting that down. I think, like, a lot of what I say is to extinguish the debate. It's like, here's what the science says, so now we don't have to talk about it anymore. Like, I don't want to talk around in circles about body image and not being able to relate to characters, and is sexual objectification making us misogynists? Like, I don't want to talk about those things, but like, I have to take those things off the table before we can talk about other things, because if I don't, someone will use it. Do you understand? Like, I have to take those things off the table so that they don't get in the way of the conversation developing.
Likes to play video games. Someone who got to this video because I saw Tia from Nikkei on the thumbnail.
In hindsight, using Tia as the thumbnail was... I'm a freaking genius and I didn't even know it.
I definitely disagree with a few of these stances, especially how generalized he makes the female perspective seem. That's the main thing I have an issue with. But
I think, yeah, I can get that. Like, I can feel like no one likes to be put in a box. I can agree with that. Like, let's say if we look at the stats and it says all guys like most guys like four-wheel driving. I'm like, well, I'm not most guys. I don't like four-wheel driving. But it still doesn't change that most guys like four-wheel driving. I'm just not one of them.
But on a lot of points, I do agree. Honestly, even if it's been a long conversation, I'm glad I watched this video here with you all versus alone.
Literally
yeah, and I am
choice.
super glad that I streamed this so I can have...
I'm glad that she streamed this too. I've enjoyed engaging with it.
Have a conversation with chat about this as well. The more voices we can bring into a civilized conversation...
It's not over yet. Because there's another video. It's a lot shorter though, so I'm gonna like power through it.
The more perspectives we get, like the more open we can be about this, you know? This has just been an open conversation about the subject of this video.
When I commented on her videos, like so I tried to write like the corrections to what she said, and like I wrote it, and then I was like, there's no point in saying this. Like, I was kind about it, but like, there's no point in me saying this in a big wall of text. Like, I hate it when I get these big walls of text. So like, she's not going to want to read this. So I decided to put it in a video. But she's quite open to having herself be in this video. So yeah, I'm really grateful for that.
Now, I know that I'm a male, so perhaps my train of thought...
This sounds like she's just hissing, but like, yeah, she's drinking coffee. I actually prefer the story that she's hissing.
sounds self-serving. Okay, so then why are so many female streamers self-selecting to sell lewd photos of themselves? Don't strain yourself. The reason is that they have reached the same conclusion I have, and there is nothing quite as beautiful as when people agree with you by demonstrating it with their actions. Note that OnlyFans is almost exclusively a female domain and voluntary, in case we didn't have enough evidence that it's not.
Working in sewage is also voluntary.
They're sort of. Like, yes, technically correct. However, one of them is an essential service, and one of them is a luxury, like an entertainment. Like it's not necessary for society.
Just throwing that out there.
What you're about to say touches on that though. Yeah.
95% male workers in sewage, it is also voluntary.
Oh, I don't think that they would see it as voluntary necessarily. Like I said before, a lot of them are just trying to put food on the table. And that's the job that they got. Like, that's what they could find at the time.
Just saying. Whatever's easiest for you to make money with is what you're usually gonna make money with, right?
No. No. That's actually not, that's not necessarily true. It's whatever job you can get that gives you income first. And then after that, you might be able to reach out into something that you want to do. I had to work at McDonald's before I could move on to another job, for example. I didn't want to do McDonald's.
And I'm not comparing OnlyFans to sewage. Don't misunderstand me here. I'm all for just doing what you want to do. And if you can make like a large amount of money with it, that's great. I personally wouldn't, but I respect people who do.
I don't mind that people use OnlyFans. I think that it's a social, for our society in the long term, it is a net negative, in my opinion. But it's not the topic of the video, so which is why I didn't say it. I was merely explaining the process that Amaranth uses.
Respect people who work in sewage. Hell, we all need people to work in sewage.
We do all need people to work in sewage.
It is a job that we absolutely need. I respect everyone.
Yep.
I'm just saying we should not be going after the OnlyFans girls here.
I wasn't going after the OnlyFans girls. It's a point about where men spend their money and where women spend their money. There aren't really many. There are some men that make money on OnlyFans, but not very many, because women won't pay for it. That's my point.
Most women I talk to don't use OnlyFans or do any of that stuff. It's not some epidemic. Yeah.
I think you having your social circle doesn't really have anything to do with it. But also, I didn't say it was a lot of people. This is an imaginary argument that I didn't say.
It's whatever the algorithm's been feeding him, I think.
No. This is just wrong.
When you have certain opinions and you engage with the opinions you agree with, you get stuck in a bubble. But it's good to look outside of your bubble every once in a while. Yeah, for me, this video has been outside of my bubble for some parts of it, at least. Yeah, he basically said women only pretend to like video games.
No, that's not what I said. I said that of the 46%, it's not actually 46%, because we go back to it in part 2 and find out it's more like 18.5. But of the 46%, it's possible that there isn't a consensus because there are an amount of them that don't care about video games. And there is a percentage, not a large percentage, I never said it was a large percentage, that use it as a business. So of that total, there is a core in there, but it's not enough to affect change. That's what I said.
Yeah, I caught that.
Reading female-targeted erotica or romances make my stomach churn with the...
I'll say that it's enough for me to have seen top 1% a suspicious amount of times. Then again, that's just anecdotal. Then again, that's just Instagram and Twitter. Then again, times 2. We could look it up if we wanted to, but it's not worth looking up. It's not the point I'm making.
The misrepresentation of males, but I will never call for it to change because I can choose not to engage with it. I want to make this really clear. I want more games that would make me feel uncomfortable as a male, but you stay away from Chun-Li's thighs, you hear me? I don't think it's reasonable to expect praise for appropriation. Anyways, I hope this video was...
Okay, we're ending on feet apparently.
That anime scene, by the way, is amazing. I know that people won't say that it's like empowering to women, but like, you have to understand that Vega is a bad man, and he was trying to do a bad thing to her, and attacking her when she was at her weakest, which conveniently was when she was in her underwear. But the way she wins that fight against the odds and then kicks Vega through the wall is freaking amazing. That's why I made everyone watch it by putting it in the video. Yeah, she kicks his ass. Yeah, exactly. But I do think that people that are mad about sexualization will be like, "Well, why was she in her underwear in that fight?" Because it looks nice. She was actually naked in the shower. There's actually a naked scene in the shower because it looks it's enjoyable. Like people want to see it, and because it's part of Vega's character to. He's a certain kind of criminal. That's why he's supposed to be characterized as someone that preys on people when they're at their weakest.
My thoughts in conclusion, nothing really that I haven't said yet. I think he's entirely wrong about women not liking sexualization in games.
Some of them do.
That's my perspective, because I personally enjoy games like Nikkei. I like the sexualization, I like the fan service.
I like that you like them.
And I like the fan service that they do with men, like in Devil May Cry. Like, I like both of the sexualizations. that might just be me, honestly. I don't think we need to necessarily tone it down. I think we could have games that aren't sexualized.
They do exist already, like, but I don't know if we want the ratio, like, again, like I said in the video, like, if people want to do it, I gave them a solution. It's like, here's how you do it. Like, here's a way forward that doesn't require government interaction, doesn't require special placement of people or weird quotas.
And there's plenty of games that are not sexualized, and I think that's okay.
Yeah.
I think both are fine. I think you should just do whatever you want to do, and
not everything you want to do. There's some things that you people do that are horrible. I don't stand by it. But in the spirit of what she's saying, yes.
Not look at Twitter and think that is everyone's opinion.
Hey, don't call me out like that.
I can guarantee you Twitter is the loud minority. I can guarantee you.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't need to be combated.
Example, Angry Birds.
But it's also not where I get my it's not where I get my point of view from.
I mean, I was thinking more like Undertale, but Angry Birds work. Do you think the companies creating games/products also look at the line between male and female as hard-coded rather than a point that begins the overlap? I think a lot of them do.
I don't know what she's talking
I think
about.
a lot of them do. And it's because there aren't enough conversations about the middle ground. I think a lot of the conversations you hear are either extreme to one side or extreme to the other side.
I agree with this. Yeah, which is like, obviously I can't be a perfect center. It's not possible. But I try.
I think it's rare to...
What did she say? I think she was responding to her chat.
Find someone who takes the middle stance.
Well, it's impossible. It's just not possible. Like, you can get close to it, I think, but you can't get exactly middle.
Even though I'm pretty sure the majority of us take the middle stance. It's just that it's so ridiculous to talk about when you don't have an extreme bias towards one way or the other. Because, you know, when you don't have an extreme bias towards one side, it's kind of common sense. So
You'd like to think so. But there's nothing common about common sense. I can tell you that after 13 years in IT. There is no common sense. It doesn't exist. It doesn't. Like, you're making me... I'm gonna cry. If only it was that simple. I wish it was, yeah. Okay, so, let's go. Next one. We're doing this. Can I not...
Good morning, basement dwellers.
Good morning. Hey, Ninsage, how we going? Hope you're doing well. Welcome, by the way.
Today, I am reacting to part 2 of Sexualization and Body Image in video games.
I'm so grateful that she did part two. Because it's not as popular of a video, so like I could imagine her not wanting to. It's like, maybe it won't get as many views, and that's right. It doesn't give her as many views, but I'm glad she did it.
And I'm going to be reacting to the...
Do you remember me from Twitter X? I do. Welcome. I actually kind of just talked about you.
uncensored version. There is...
She's a good egg. Like, I think that she's, I like her. I'll say it that way.
a PG...
I really hope you aren't a one-hit wonder with this video. I don't know if I have a choice. Like, I keep putting on, like, I did the video of Taiwan and the terror and cults, and I think it's a really awesome video. I think it's better than the sexualization video. I think it's a more important video, but it's, people like to talk about boobs. So I think maybe my next big video will probably still be about boobs. I think a video about how people view beauty. I saw in a lot of the comments that people talk about how things aren't varied in the sexual content. And to me, that's like an obvious thing, but maybe it's because I have a background in visual design. There are rules to art. So like there is a subject, like, yes, it is subjective. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. You're getting the free video right now. But there are rules, and there are things that are more or less congruent, like more or less universally true for most people. Things aren't varied because everyone is trying to do it the best way. Yeah, it's a meta.
13 censored version, but we're all adults here, so...
Hell yeah.
Sorry, I am very sick right now, so if you hear me cough, if...
Art is literally a meta. I'm so grateful that she did this even though she was sick. I appreciate that. Like, it's doing streaming while you're really sick is pretty tough. So props to her.
If my voice breaks, that's why. I've also running a bit of a fever, so hopefully this video won't go on for as long as it did last time. So to address some of the comments that I got on the last video, I feel like I need to put up a...
I like that I'm just chilling on our couch right now. Like, see, there's me, just chilling on our couch. I hope that I hope that I'm allowed to do that.
A few content warnings here. First of all, this video is pretty much 18 plus. All of my content is pretty much 18
Deploy
plus.
couch cam.
I do not control the algorithm if YouTube brought you here when you see this video after the stream. Everything in this video is an opinion. I am not speaking hard facts that you can debate me on.
Okay. Alright.
You can give your opinion, I give my opinion, we can be nice about it, but...
I hope she didn't get anything really mean about... I'm guessing that someone said something along the lines of when she said that my ideas were misogynistic. Because she did mention that.
But in the end, it is all opinion-based.
It's a pretty strong opinion, though.
We'll be
Actually,
talking.
Let's this is why I take the word so seriously. A person who dislikes, despises, or is strongly prejudiced against women. I don't think it's fair to say that anything in the first video can be used to come to the conclusion that I'm that. I think that's pretty unfair. Maybe if you use the term misogynistic, which is what she used, is strongly prejudiced against women. I bent over backwards to, like, I said, oh, women aren't doing this as much, but like, you know, the ones that are really into it, like, they love it. I feel like it's if I didn't say anything, like if I wasn't saying something completely positive about it, then it can be seen as misogynistic. So like, I feel it's just too easily, it comes out of people's mouths too easily. That's why I'm bothered about it. I don't mind it, like, I expect it in comments, because dumb people do that. But I do expect a little bit better from other content creators.
To chat through.
When I was terms like misogynist and racist, etc., have been overused to the point of losing all meaning. Yeah, I don't think we should lose the meaning of it. Like, I think it should be a strong word, but like, what choice do I have now other than to not take it seriously? When I was growing up, we operated by the dictionary definition of these words. These days, these words are just weapons. Yeah, they are.
Throughout this entire video, if you see it after the stream. So I am reading chat for a lot of the time, so if I miss some of the points in the video, I do apologize, but it's a lot to focus on. Alright, here we go. Sexualization and body image in video games, part 2. Also, if it's more of the same of what we've gone over last time, I'm probably cutting most of this out of the final video. If it's different points that are being brought up that we can actually talk about, then yeah, let's discuss.
Okay.
That escalated quickly. First off, I just want to say thank you to everyone that took the time to watch the sexualization and body image in video games video, especially if you watched it all the way through. If you haven't seen the video, then please go check it out before watching this video because you'll be missing some of the context and yeah.
I actually really like
cool
this
when they
song.
make sense. So anyways, I asked for your opinion.
I friggin' loved how, like, I'm gonna brag a bit, sorry. I love how this song looks with this scene.
Opinions in the
Okay, yeah, we have
paused
watched the first video all the way through, and we've had a nice long discussion about that.
I actually really enjoyed Reverse 1999. If you were worried about sexualization or whatever, and you wanted a gacha game that isn't very sexualized, Reverse 99 is like one that looks cool.
So, and we can pick up where we left off there.
comments, and I certainly got them. What I was most surprised with was how civil and respectful most of the comments were. I was actually pretty nervous about putting that video out in the first place. I even asked my wife to watch it with me, and I was kind of hoping that she was going to tell me that it was a bit too much, but when I asked her what she thought, she said, and I quote, "I like the girl with big boobs."
This should be your first indication that women do like... I'm sorry, but the last video he went on about how women don't like sexualization.
No, I didn't say that. I said that they don't spend money on it. So I actually explained this, like, my wife likes the big boobs, that's true. But she doesn't spend money on it. She spends her time and money on Korean dramas. That's the distinction. I'm not talking about how people feel in fleeting.
He got direct confirmation of my point there.
Hundreds of comments, I collated some of the common or more interesting themes, and I'm going to use these as a point of reflection. Let's rapid fire some of these. I'm a man, I don't struggle relating to characters in video games. I don't care that they don't look like me. Yes, perhaps poor wording on my part, I should have said physically relate. I'm well aware that most men don't care about the relation aspect at all, but
This is pretty much what my live chat was relaying to me.
I needed a jumping point to say that male characters aren't our mirrors. Next, I agree that I like sexualization in games, but I think that there are times where it goes too far and it's just male fan service for the sake of male fan service. Yes, I also have
the Azure Lane thing. People were so upset about that.
Azure Lane is actually wild. And there's, like, it's an extremely sexual game in the sense of, it's not hentai, but it's like, the sexualization in it is just upfront. It doesn't try to hide any of it. And it's like every fetish you can think of is catered to. There's also like 2.5D models, skins for the characters, where like, if you rub them a certain way, they do things, and like if you do different gestures, there's a whole meta for like doing different gestures for how the characters will react to it. Good lord, gotta go. Catch you in Sage. I hope you have an awesome time. Thank you for stopping by, I appreciate it.
I like it though. I think The rigging on this is fantastic. I strive for this as a Live 2D rigger.
Yeah, like Nikkei has nothing on Azur Lane in practice. It might look like it's like similar, but they're not. In like how aggressive they are.
My personal filters, but the important word in personal filters is personal. Who is the arbiter of too far beyond the law? You're not a reasonable judge, and I'm not either. Self-censorship is the only rational outcome. I think a lot of the root issue here is with the rating boards of video games. They still operate on principles from several decades past and fail to acknowledge that gaming is predominantly an adult hobby.
I do agree. I do agree that it's a lot about self-censorship.
Vanquish is so cool. And yeah, I love All Platinum. Where did they go wrong? Was it Godfall?
If you don't want to see something, you don't have to. If you don't like excessive fan service, don't play a game that clearly has excessive fan service in it. For example, we're going back to Nikkei because that's the game that I play. But for Nikkei, if you don't like excessive fan service, you shouldn't play it in the first place. I'm gonna be real.
100%. It's like putting your hand on a hot stove and then asking why you're being burnt. Like, you're an idiot. That's... like, you put your hand on a hot plate and then you get burned and you're like, why is this happening to me? I couldn't foresee this. It's because you're stupid. I don't remember. I wish I could play Bayonetta 3. I don't have a Nintendo console.
Even though the story is so good, if you don't like the fan service, you don't have to play it. Nikkei markets itself as an adult game. So I feel like if games market themselves as what they are intending to be, then you can avoid them. Play Nikkei for the gameplay. That's sweet, sweet auto gameplay. I'm sorry, that's just me. I rarely ever take it off of auto unless...
So this is actually kind of a good example of the territory control study. I never use auto. I actually really like the gameplay because I like diminishing the health bars of the enemies. And I'm not sure if, like, this could be just, like, completely random and nothing to do with the study as well, but I like that. I find that very rewarding to me. I can't understand people wanting to play on auto.
It's like...
But, you know, clearly, obviously, a lot of people do.
Super hard fights. Or like the solo raid. I take it off of auto for the solo raid.
I only ever use auto because sometimes, especially early on, it's so easy that it feels like you're doing... Yeah, that's true. Like, sometimes the level is so quick that it doesn't matter. But I still don't use auto. I still do it. Another difference might be that I never play it on mobile. I always play it on my PC. I actually struggle to play gachas on mobile. I'll be right back.
Nikkei's gameplay isn't bad. It's not bad in any way. It's very strategic. I'm not dissing Nikkei's gameplay. I play Nikkei for mostly the story, like the entire lore behind the game, and the waifus.
If the gameplay wasn't fun, I wouldn't care about the story. But I do really like the story. Like, how to say, I wouldn't have played it long enough for me to have got gripped by the story.
You know, I do enjoy waifus.
At least male characters provide a goal to work toward. What is the goal for females? Get surgery? When I went to school, there was this song that the girls would sing. They would swing their arms forward across their chest and back again while singing, I must increase my bust. They were half right. The missing ingredient is resistance. Your breasts sit on top of your pectoral muscles, or your chest if you will. If you develop your chest muscles within a balanced training routine, you not only increase the horizontal distance at which your breasts protrude from your chest, you will also be providing lift that aids...
Okay, no, even if you work out, you're not gonna go from an A to a D. Let's be very real here. You're not gonna go from an A to a D.
Agreed. I'll say it in a minute.
Even if you work out, you might go from an A to a small B. But that's about the limit there. No, I just want to be real here. I just want to be very real on this. I am drinking coffee, by the way. I literally woke up like half an hour ago. With Nikkei, I'm confused as to why people find the all-female super soldiers thing weird and off-putting. Warhammer 40k does the same thing with the all-male Space Marines. I have never played Warhammer 40k. I've played Vermintide, if that helps, but yeah.
I can explain that. I play Warhammer. I think people are more accepting. So the people that make the arguments about sexualization, you've got to remember that they aren't. They don't care about how guys are treated. So it's like it's not important to them. The Space Marines are only one faction in Warhammer. So I'll give you an example. I'm choosing this one because, well, this is my army. And this is one of the reasons why I like Virus's look so much, is that she reminds me of a Drakari succubus. You might notice that it's a she. There are whole factions, in fact, that are all female races. So, like, a lot of why Space Marines are men were because of how models were made. You didn't have like a ton of molds to work with, and you were restricted to certain stances and stuff like that. So some of it is how models were made when they first started. And then since the molds have gotten better and the resources have gotten better, they've made other races. But the Drakari, or the Dark Elves, have been around for a long time. And they particularly have a very, like, they have the witch cults, which are all female, and they have the Kabbalites, which are the criminal, or like, the Drakari are just flat out evil, and I love them. But she looks like a Drakari succubus. I think that's cool. One rule, hate Tau. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, the communist fish people. This person is like, they are kind of making a good point. It's like, fair for one is fair for the other, but the Space Marines are in full suits of armor, so it's like, it's not like it's the same thing. But also, it's only one faction of many, and there are so many, there's literal physical manufacturing reasons for it as well.
With the all-female super soldiers in Nikkei, there's an actual explanation behind this that I did go over in part 1. Maybe they're intimidated by powerful female characters. I very much appreciate powerful female characters, if I'm gonna be honest. Not to let my own preference...
I don't think anyone's intimidated by a Nikkei. Oh, okay. I think there are women that are maybe envious of Nikkei characters, or how much time their boyfriends or husbands spend playing Nikkei when they could be spending time with them. Some of them intimidate me in the right ways. Okay, fair enough.
And so slip out here.
But you like it, right?
But no, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people who are into the dummy mommy type. I'm not sure what's up with that, honestly.
Aside from this, a lot of what makes impressive physiques is good posture and proportions. For example, in males, a narrow waist is an important factor to how wide your shoulders look. What I'm saying is that it is not all about raw size. You also need the surrounding support and to know how to use it. Now, I want to set realistic expectations here. This is not going to give you the results of implants. If it did...
Yes. I think it's got more to do with having, like... most of what you will notice is your overall proportions getting better. And that will make it look better, but it's not like this huge physical buff. I think you'll also become more confident. People generally become more confident when they become strong and they improve their posture.
No one would...
But I spilled a Dr. Pepper on my shirt like 8 hours ago, and it's still wet. That's crazy. I like Dr. Pepper, though. That's a good choice. Like, if there was something that was going to be stuck on my shirt for 8 hours, I would like it to be Dr. Pepper.
Get implants. But my point of view is that if I have poor calf genetics and I still train like a dog for minimal gain, no one has an excuse not to try. Now, where women really dominate is the gluteus maximus. Your butt is a very strong muscle that responds extremely well to stimulus. It also helps that most women have the genetic predisposition to store the junk in the trunk.
I would know about this.
Okay.
Yes, the leg and thigh muscles are very quick to be stimulated and develop, at least for me.
Go to any decent bodybuilding gym and you're going to see a woman walking around in leggings designed to tell the world that they have 2 cheeks and they're proud of it. You will also see women routinely doing over 100 kilogram weighted hip thrusts with murderous intent. For a
Actually, kind of unrelated, but it's interesting how the times have changed. I'm getting somewhere with this.
Okay.
So, in the early 2000s, the time when I grew up as a teenager, a large butt and legs were extremely undesirable. It was horrific. I'm sorry, yes, grandma talk, I'm sorry.
Yeah, this was definitely a thing. Just look at music videos from the early 2000s.
I have a point though. So, it's interesting to me to see how the times have changed to be accepting of thighs and butts. Society's views on what women are supposed to look like, and maybe what men are supposed to look like, I don't actually know.
Society has views, yeah. But I do think that guys like looking strong. That's it. We like to look strong, if we can.
But society's views
Because people don't give us shit if we look big. Like, you have no idea. Like, I've been skinny and I've been more fit looking. So, like, from both perspectives, like having both perspectives, I'll take the fit look because people treat you a lot better. They're more respectful of you, to you. They're more respectful to you. They take your opinions more seriously, and girls are nicer to you. It just is that.
on
Can confirm, I enjoyed how big I felt when I was actively working out.
what people are supposed to look like has changed a lot over time, and it continues to change.
It does continue to change as trends. I think we're also in the right... You can ignore the trends if you like, and pursue what's good for you.
case study, here is Sherelle Grant, an ex-bikini pro, now a gym trainer and advocator for women training in gyms. This is her progress. She's been training for 8 years plus at this point, and I'll point out the bias of the image. The first being that her posing technique is a lot better and her choice of clothing does have an amplifying effect. But you're chewing mushrooms if you think that the asset budgets haven't received a massive increase. Accounting has been working overtime. What really shocked me was just how small and petite she is. Small and petite, but very strong and aesthetic when she chooses to be. By the way, if you want a real body image role model for women, I highly recommend checking out Sherelle Grant's Instagram. He's very candid, has good evidence-based information for girls wanting to start in gym or live a more balanced lifestyle.
I also want to interject here. I have nothing to say about working out because that's not my area of expertise. I'm going to be real
Okay.
honest with you.
All right.
I do want to say, not everyone can look like that, mostly because it is also based on genetics.
Okay.
For example, I will never get rid of my thighs.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I've mentioned this, but that's the part where muscles for me develop first.
I contest that people know how much muscle they have. Like, people are very bad at determining that. You need to use calipers and to have it measured properly by someone that knows what they're doing. It's not an eye test. You can do eye tests later when you're like very good at it and you have done it a lot, but like people are very bad at it.
So for me, I'd still have
Like, I can't see her, so I can't make a judgment of it. But a lot of women, they'll say, oh, my thighs are huge. If I work out, my thighs will get big, even bigger. It's because fat is being stored in your thighs. If you lower your calories, they'll go away.
you know, triangle shape on me if I started working out. Like, I wouldn't become thin.
Look up pictures of people that have been starved. You'll find that they all look kind of like a skeleton. I don't know if you don't need any more proof than that people are more similar than you think they are. I don't deny that she might always have a proportionally big thighs, though I will say that load-bearing proportionally there. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, maybe she does, maybe she doesn't, but, like, I do know that people are really bad at this. And she just said that she doesn't know a lot about this stuff, so, like, I'm suspicious. But, like, if you can take my example of starved people. Starved people don't have, like, this huge variation in body shapes. They pretty much have very similar body shapes. A fit person, though, will have, you know, your genetics do affect things. Absolutely, she's right about that. But you don't know where your genetics will take you unless you do the work. Hey, Dark Shadow. Love your vid, by the way. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
If you know what I mean. Like, I wouldn't look like a model.
You don't know that. I've stood next to Sherelle Grant. She looks like a normal girl. When she's on stage and she's on photo shoots, she has makeup on. I think she works as a registered nurse, so, like, when she's walking around in a hospital, I doubt that anyone knows that she was a bikini pro or anything like that. I think it can be very misleading in that sense. In that it's remarkable what you can do.
So I think we do need to keep in mind that no, like, even if we all, like, work out the same regimen, none of us will look the exact same.
That's true.
Because it's also highly dependent on genetics.
It is, yeah, but the part that you're missing here is that it's not in your genetics don't mean anything until you've done the work. So you don't really know what you're talking about because you haven't done the work. Like, I don't mean that in a mean way, but you can't know something that you don't know.
I'm gonna assume this works the same for men. I don't know.
It works exactly the same for men.
I'm not a man, but curb your expectations in anything that you do, basically.
No, shoot for the stars, but don't expect to hit them. That's what I would say.
I do work out sometimes, but again, all of the muscle is currently in my thighs, so, you know.
It's not a bad place to have them.
I could crush someone, just not with my arms. Okay, let's move on from this.
I would love it if all women did arm training and shoulder exercises, because there are far more, like, where I work in a female-dominated industry, and a lot of women in their 40s have frozen shoulders because they don't do mobility training to reach their arms over their heads. They don't do the physical labor that makes them do that. So I actually think that, like, training your arms is pretty important. Like, making sure that you can still reach your arm above your head in a straight line is pretty important. So, like, people should do it. I think one of the saddest things is, as you get older, you lose the ability to move your body. And it's not necessary, but people accept it because it's the norm. And they shouldn't accept it. Man, learning about being genetically predisposed to tiny calves when I got big was the most depressing moment. Yeah, man. I mean, you don't know what you don't know. Like, I didn't know that I have fairly good chest and back genetics until I peeled the layers away and I did all the work to grow them. My arms aren't really great. I don't have very thick wrists, so my forearms aren't great. But, like, as I said, like, you don't know until you know.
Quick.
I'm not saying that you should have the trunk of a Cadillac, and obviously some have better genes than others. But now you know, and you can't hide behind the delusion that these aren't things you can use as guiding stars. Anyways, this rapid fire kind of turned into a musket. Sorry, we may as well just keep going. I'll quickly touch on the sentiment that objectification is a dirty word because it didn't come up directly, but it's definitely a sense I got. If you
Also, the other thing that I know is that people will start going to the gym and maybe start doing it consistently to change how they look. But it's not why they'll stay. They'll stay because they like getting stronger, which is, I think, a fundamentally more healthy way to engage with going to the gym and working out. Getting strong is fun. Doesn't matter what sex you are.
Being around the block, you're going to know. Let's not pretend. Everyone wants to be sexually objectified, they just also want to choose the conditions. That's a very important distinction and the source of 99% of the friction, but let's not pretend.
Yeah, I do agree with that.
Hells yeah. I know it, but it was very difficult to say when I was recording it.
That is absolutely something that I can agree with. I don't think the word objectification is necessarily bad. It just depends. If it's unwanted, entirely unwanted, then it's bad.
Absolutely.
I think in this case, it's about consent. we're coming back to consent. And consent is important, obviously. If I missed the point, I'm sorry, but that's what I got from this.
Let's get one thing out of the way. When I said that the population at large was incompetent at detecting steroid users, I was stating a fact. Like, there is no debate
Hissing again.
on this. We wouldn't need advanced drug tests if I was wrong. Now,
Okay, we're coming back to the whole workout thing again, and
She always skips the part with Abby. Why does she do that?
again, I have nothing to say about this because not my area of expertise. I do want to say that, personally, I would not be able to detect steroid users.
That's my point. Yeah. And I'm not targeting it at her. It's all people.
I'd be like, oh, that's impressive. Okay, moving on. But I wouldn't be able to detect plastic surgery either very easily. So, and I don't think it matters. You do you. You do you. I don't know what the effects of steroids are. If it's very bad side effect.
It can have life-ending side effects. Not always, but it's pretty well known. It enlarges your heart, which is a problem because your heart struggles to beat. Is it manageable and can you still have a good life? I mean, look at Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's okay. But he's also he didn't have as much as some of these guys are having. Some of these guys will go for an x-ray and they'll find out their heart is the size of a horse's heart. Because your heart is a muscle and steroids just grows all the muscles. So yeah, that's probably the biggest problem. Yeah, I consider myself pretty adept and I still only got a few of them right in the video. That's good to know. I'm glad. I'm glad that it worked. I was a bit worried that people would be like, oh yeah, I got them all.
Then probably
No one challenged me on it though, yet.
don't, but, you know, I don't know anything about that.
okay, get a good
She skipped the game.
look out of these women who was caught with steroids. No cheating, okay?
Okay, who was caught with steroids? I do not know, but I think they're all beautiful.
Such a bullshit answer. Do you really think they're all beautiful?
Is that an
Like, yeah, sure, they're beautiful on the inside, but like, are you all of them?
answer? Is that a fair answer?
Moving on, I want to talk
It's not a fair answer. You didn't play my game. I'm disappointed. Like, I worked really hard on making that game. I wanted to play it with people, and this is the only reaction video I have. And you didn't play the game. Anyways, I knew someone on steroids, but he was the skinniest guy ever. He thought taking it would automatically... No, you have to work. People get that so wrong. It doesn't... like, guys will grow more muscle. They'll grow muscle on steroids without working out, but... you do need to work. And also, not everyone responds equally to the stimulus. So, it's not like a... It's not a magic bullet. You're still also bound by your genetic limits. You just get there a lot faster.
a little bit about why I chose to focus on
The game was the whole point. Yeah, the game is the video virus.
we grew up in a
Whoops, I skipped 10 seconds because I was mad. I'm not really mad.
and to explain
I saw some guy do this experiment where he never worked out before and he decided he'd take steroids right as he started. He looked legitimately ghoulish. Like a necromorph level of backsets. That's crazy.
it, I need to tell you a story. This is me. And this is my brother. We grew up in a loving household. I don't have any complaints. My parents were very good to us.
I mean, I did give some additional explanations of, you know, why it's probably mostly men, but I don't think...
I think that her explanations given in the last video were extremely based and like similar to what I said, what I wanted to say.
think it's necessarily a wrong point to bring up.
My brother and I would play video games for hours if we could. My mom wasn't keen on it because she felt they didn't have a practical application and she was worried that we were wasting our time and it would make us violent. We had an hour time limit and we had to finish our homework before we were allowed to play. But you know what? I'm sorry, Mom. I regularly padded out the time and I kinda lied. Anyways, I finished high school and I told my dad I wanted to do a course in video game design, and he asked me to choose a different field of study. He was clearly worried for my future, and I don't blame him for that. My parents were doing the best with the information they had.
I think all parents are like that, to be honest. I wanted to go into art, and my mother stated that you can't make money with art. No, look at me being a full-time commission artist. Anyway, to be quite honest, unrelated personal anecdote. I barely finished high school. I think I was absent for half my senior year because I was playing World of Warcraft.
But did you get the mount?
I'm gonna assume all of you are over 18, so you're good. You're good. I'm not influencing you to be bad kids.
I studied a Bachelor of Multimedia, which I have never used to this day. My brother pursued a career as a civil engineer, and while we worked at full-time jobs, we spent our weeknights working on what we...
I relate. I was late every day to school for half a year. I love sleep, man.
really loved. We were going to make a game. This is Nano. Sadly, we never finished Nano, but I have some wonderful memories around it. To be fair, my brother taught himself C++, and he did most of the work. I did a bunch of the art side of it, but my brother did the lion's share of the work.
That is actually very similar to what my brother and I did. So my older
Okay. Like we had similar experiences. This is great.
brother got into programming. And I was mostly a little bit into the programming because I was helping him with parts, but I mostly did the art assets. So I maybe that's just a sibling thing, you know? That could be just a sibling thing.
There's a lot of siblings that don't do it. But yeah.
There was no such thing as an asset store, and we didn't have a lot of money, so we had to make and program everything. Nothing was prepackaged. For example, making human characters in Unreal Engine 5 is almost effortless with MetaHuman. I almost cried when I saw it comes with inbuilt character creation tools. Motion capture rigs are far more accessible. They're expensive, but you can actually think about getting them in 2023.
One day, I will get a mocap. One day, we'll have full body tracking on this channel. But today is not that day. I have like 20 pounds in my bank account. Today is not that day.
Okay.
One day, though. It could always be a dream. I want you to do a flip
I hope she gets it.
whenever you get the mocap. I can't do a flip IRL, what do you mean? Better practice. I'm going to break my neck.
Still come up with game designs, this is a passion that just wells up from inside of me. It doesn't require incentives or comfort to manifest.
When it comes to game development, everyone wants to be the idea guy.
Yes.
Almost nobody wants to do the actual programming. And
Absolutely.
programming is it's hard. It's very hard.
This is why she has the perspective, and this is why she agrees with me, because she's actually done the work. I think a lot of people that argue with me on this point they haven't done any of the work. So they don't really know what they're talking about.
You gotta be passionate about that to keep your sanity through that. And I'm saying that as a Live 2D rigger, which is the same scenario. You gotta be passionate about that to keep your sanity. Do I have a pro tip for you guys about the flip? If you die, you're dead, so don't die. Fair. Honestly, fair. That's good advice. Are you making an indie video game? No, I'm not a programmer. I make VTuber models for a living. I like video games, but I am not passionate enough to wreck my brain over programming language. I want to make online video.
Yeah, I mean, she's like the perfect case for, is the coffee smaller? I don't know, but, dude, like, she's been drinking that coffee forever, and I just finished this milk. And now I want her coffee, because, like, it seems to last longer.
Video game where you boom, shoot, slide, repeat. Isn't that just Warframe? Wait, isn't that just Warframe? That sounds like Warframe.
The point of comparing solo developers by gender was to gauge the passion for the field and eliminate all the current external factors that literally do nothing to even answer the very simple but important question, do you want to make a video game? Why would this not be the starting point? In the end, I think that people didn't like that I didn't use the common talking points that align with their point of view, but it definitely doesn't make me wrong. I'll concede that I missed some of the female solo devs, so thank you for pointing that out, but I also missed far more male solo devs, so the ratio stays almost exactly the same. Also, don't tell me that the solo devs I cited were propped up by their partners and that they stole their partner's opportunity to pursue a career if you aren't going to provide evidence for that. It's
That was a comment that I read, and it made me so mad that I put it in the script.
incredibly condescending and ignorant. That aside,
Yeah, I don't think that's a good point. I don't think anyone is stealing anyone's opportunity. Grandma plays our views about video games are very different. I enjoy the video game franchise where there are literally 11 plus games that all play and look the same. If I say Call of Duty, am I gonna get shit?
Why do people say such rotten things? Because they want to win the argument. That's it. Like they want to win. They don't actually care about what words are coming out of their mouth, just as long as they win. It's like when people bring up the female male thing, and then I'll say, I use the words like they are in the dictionary. They don't mean anything. And then they'll say, they're derogatory and dehumanizing. It's like, look it up. It doesn't mean that. Oh, but you're using them like they're an experiment. I was like, but then you didn't read or you didn't watch anything else I said, like before and after that point. You're literally just taking those words and attaching an entire mythos to them. And they'll just keep going. They'll keep going. And then I'm a Nazi, I'm a fascist. It is like, okay, so you don't have anything intelligent to say, but they'll keep going because winning the argument is more important to them than finding the truth.
Once played the COD, it was bad. Yeah, I don't enjoy it either. Just in general, first-person shooters aren't really my thing. But it's fine. People can like what they like.
I picked that up in the first video.
Like, you know, it's popular for a reason. I just don't see the reason.
to further my point, I'm going to dip into the world of esports. I know of 2 all-female League of Legends teams that participated at the
Okay, no, I know what he's going to say. But you know what the problem was with the female esports teams? They chose the teams based on the women's attractiveness.
Oh, I don't think that was the reason. And was it the case for both of them? Because they're completely 2 different teams, and one's in Russia and one's in, I think, the US.
I don't know if he's going to bring that one up. Yes, they kind of sucked. They were considered basically a joke. They weren't nearly as good as the male teams, but all of them were attractive. You don't get like sweaty gamer good at a game and keep up your appearance. You get one of them. This is not a fair point to bring up, because in general, women who are actually good at the games they play do not get the opportunity to join esports teams.
That's an assertion. And I think if you want to be taken seriously, you need to provide an example or a statistic for it. Because, like, I don't disagree with you, but I'm providing things that exist. I think you need to meet me halfway here.
Sports teams are so highly political.
Yeah, teams and that kind of thing are political.
You have to have connections. It's not
You have to have connections, but you also need to be good at the game.
not just about being good. It's about the entry point for women is so much higher than for men when it comes to esports.
one of them was
Is it, or is it the same level? Because, like, it is a statistic that women are less likely to ask for pay rises. So is it really that it's more difficult for women, or that women perceive it as being more difficult because they don't push? I think you need specific examples, because there are statistics to say what I'm saying, but there aren't any, as far as I know, to say what you're saying. I feel like saying that they're picked for their looks discredits their skill. They're not low ranking. They're not low ranking. I think they're also not. They're not worthy of being at the highest level, but they weren't low ranking. They would all beat me. I'm garbage, but I think they were around diamond. Some of them were around diamond. They weren't challenger, don't get me wrong, but they're sitting around emerald is no joke. Oh, okay, around emerald. I don't know the levels.
Team Siren, and the other was Vivictus. Sadly, neither of these teams were competitive in the league, and they were forced to drop out. At no point has there ever been an esports team that has been competitive in open competition where their starting position was to filter out one of the genders. Most League of Legends teams are all male, but
See, you can't see their faces right now, but you can kind of see the comparison here. The guys are greasy.
Oh, that's mean. Like, I don't think they look greasy. I assume by greasy she means like it's like their hair hasn't been washed in a few days or something like that. I know my hair gets greasy if I don't shower. Like I have to wash my hair every night, whereas like some people can get away with a few days. They don't look like that. I think that's a bit unfair. You could say that they're not classically handsome.
As they should be, they're esports players. The women are very pretty. The entry point of women to get into esports is connections, being decent at the game, I suppose, but most
Also, to advocate for her again, I think that the notion of women perceiving it as harder since they don't push does genuinely mean it's harder. Yeah. It's more difficult to, but like, I don't think that that's the point she's making.
of all being pretty, because we're still running on that kind of
Like, people like to keep the argument nebulous and because they don't have a specific example. So really, like, as an argument, all I have to do is okay, provide evidence. That's the end. For most people. Now, if she has some, I'm interested. I want to know. I want to learn about it.
system. Don't want to get too much into that, but people be like, you spend so much time playing games, you must be good at games. Me about that. Same, honestly, same. I'm not good at games. I'm just here to provide dumb entertainment.
there is no filtering process that removes females. The ones that do have female representation at the ratio of the actual player base perform much better because
Are all the girls really, like, hot? I didn't think that when I was putting the video together. I didn't think that any of them were ugly. But they didn't. It's not like I looked at them as like, wow, these are super hot. What a coincidence that they're all super attractive, because I don't think they looked all super attractive to me. But, this is like a subjective thing. She thinks they are. I don't think that they all are. Some of them, sure.
it represents the top of the talent pool of the actual female player base.
Here's
I'm
a
going to
better
flip over to
view.
Overwatch
Okay.
for a moment
It's just
here
the one
because
person.
that's more of my wheelhouse, sadly. This is Guguri. Guguri was a diva main, and I think if you remember, she was really good at Overwatch. She was known for playing with extremely sensitive mouse settings. In fact, she was so skilled at the game that some players accused her of using an aimbot, but she debunked those claims and ended up playing for the Shanghai Dragons. Unfortunately, the story of the Shanghai Dragons is bittersweet, holding a record of 0 wins in the inaugural season. In spite of this, it was very clear that Guguri was one of the bright spots on our team, and she would carry the team at times. The losses were so bad that the entire crowd would give standing ovations for taking a single map in the series. Now, moving forward, the Shanghai Dragons drastically juggled their roster and coaches and went on to be one of the prominent teams in the Overwatch League, but Guguri remained a well-liked player that performed exceptionally well with her peers. The takeaway is that forcing a gender-based outcome has never worked in esports.
Yeah, why? Okay, if she's the one good player on her
No, she wasn't the one good player on her team.
team, why not put her in with the male players?
Oh, okay. She thinks that she was in an all-girls team. She wasn't. She was the only girl in the team. So there were 5 guys and her, makes 6 players. Now in Overwatch, having 1 or 2 really bad players means you lose every game. And especially their Zenyatta player, Free. I think his name was Free Feel, but everyone called him Free Feed because he was so easy to kill. Losing one person meant that you could still be a star in your team and not be able to carry the team. It's a bit different from maybe some other games that you might be familiar with. What a nickname. Yeah. So it's like I don't blame her. She's got it twisted. She wasn't put in that team, by the way. She applied for that team. And I'll tell you that of the teammates that she started with, the other tank player was one of the best tanks in the league, and the one of the DPS players was also accused of being a hacker for being so good at his aim. The problem was that the coaching staff were getting them to do arbitrary things like play ranked games for 8 hours a day, and they weren't working on team coordination and stuff like that.
Why would she not be allowed to play with other top players?
She was.
Why did they force her into a team with worse players?
You're assuming that she was forced. She wasn't.
Just to make an all-female team. That's... I don't want to use the words because I'm going to get shit with it again, but that...
If you use the words, you would deserve it because you're completely wrong about it.
That's a not good thing. Again, entry point for women, through the fucking roof.
I am aware that Guguri probably faced more difficulty for being a minority in a male-dominated field, but her story opens the door for other females.
Ranked for Overwatch for 8 hours is torture. But like, imagine if you do ranked for 8 hours and then the next day you need to play against the best team in the world. And like, when you play ranked, you play as a duo, so like, it's a different skill. It's completely different. It was really bad coaching. Changing the coach had much more of an effect than changing the players. And Guguri played all the way up until like, Guguri played when the team was good too. I think maybe she thinks that she was subbed out when the game started, when they started getting success. She was subbed out with another player that performed better than her. That's it. There are instances of this in League. There's a female player that plays like, it's like all guys and one female player. I can't remember her name though.
Instead of closing it. Let's not pretend that the pendulum doesn't swing
This
the
is
other
the
way.
game
Don't believe
I
me?
worked
Okay,
on.
here's an article about male nurses in the American Journal of Nursing in 2006.
She skipped the whole story. So like, okay, she didn't maybe skip it, but like effectively, functionally it skipped. She missed the whole story where I tell about my work experience at Orin Developments and how I really respected my boss. I think that's an important piece because she attacked my character in the last video. That's like an important piece to redeem my character, so I would have liked it to have been in there.
Quote, and one major unresolved issue is discrimination. Despite aggressive efforts by nursing schools and hospitals to recruit men, I get emails all the time from men, especially students, complaining about discrimination, says Jerry
My boss was a woman, just to clarify.
Lucas, registered nurse, publisher of Male Nurse magazine. Last summer, Daniel Lufkin, registered nurse, sued a main hospital over alleged sexual harassment from female co-workers claiming they called men jerks and idiots and told him to shut up. He also claims he was denied promotion because he is a man.
And that is not okay. It is not okay in either direction. Can people be normal?
That is the norm. Like, it's not a nice truth, like but it is the norm. Like, it's anytime there is a dominated field, it happens. And like, we should fight it, absolutely. Like, but it is the norm.
Can people just have the basic amount of respect for other human beings? That's the problem as a nurse. Don't call men idiots if you're female. Call everyone idiots just like I do.
Also, I'll add with the nurses, it's not just the other nurses that attack the men, it's the patients. The patients literally, they have homophobia. They assume that the male nurses are gay. And they're like, I want a woman.
Equal treatment, there you go. That's still kind of mean.
So then if it's within their grasp to pursue pretty much anything and numerically dominate that field, and they choose not to pursue a field, does it not then follow that they chose not to pursue that field? So
I feel like she skipped a lot there.
let's say they choose not to pursue video game creation. Why is it then unacceptable for the reason to be, I don't want to? Like, if I don't want to eat onions, I don't eat onions. And then if you tell me that males always used to eat onions, but women punched them in the gonads every time they ate onions, and now males don't want to eat onions, bro, I still don't want to eat onions. Do you think that we are not all shaped by our recent history? Okay, why do we eat bacon and eggs for breakfast? Americans didn't eat bacon and eggs for breakfast until the 1920s when Edward Bernays, hired by Beech Nut Packing Company, wrote to 5,000 physicians asking.
Okay, yeah, I'm, as always, outside of that statistic because my breakfast is a cup of coffee. I do not process food in the morning at all. It has to be at least around noon before my stomach starts up, so.
I went to technical school and I saw that a lot of the automotive areas, I've seen a lot of people disregard some really skilled female mechanics just because of them being a woman. Yeah. It's not right. I don't endorse it or agree with it.
I feel like I'm outside of a lot of statistics here.
You're a pink-haired succubus VTubing on the internet about a video to do with boobs on imaginary characters. We're literally unicorns here.
1,500 physicians wrote back saying that the heavier breakfast was better. Edward Bernays then published his findings with the framing of bacon and eggs being the ideal heavy breakfast choice. What did Beech Nut Packing sell? That's right, bacon and eggs. Note that we are still eating bacon and eggs, even though there are far more efficient options. So my question is this: do you now want to give up bacon and eggs knowing that society has quote-unquote forced you into believing that bacon and eggs are the correct breakfast? Of course not. Bacon is delicious. Both can be true at the same time. You can have problems with sexism in the workplace and society, and also not want to make video games, which is why I eliminated the workplace from the equation. The reason why
I got that character. Just want you guys to know that.
I didn't go into depth on the reasoning for why women don't engage with game development is because it's about as useful as a paper plane in a thunderstorm. At some point, we have to be responsible for
Curses Beech Nut Packing stopping me from eating my triple cheeseburgers in the morning? Yeah.
our personal choices, and moving into the future, the people in the hobby now are the people in the hobby now. I'm not waiting for some higher power to descend from the skies and rewrite the wrongs of the past. I'm saying
The word's meaning escaped me. It's just an arbitrary comparison.
Oh no, it's not arbitrary.
To say that it doesn't matter what society says. If you like something or don't like something, you like something or don't like something. But I feel like that's a little bit simple.
moving on, by far the most common sentiment I got in the comment section
Because she didn't expand on it, I don't really have anything to say about it.
was that the statistic for female gamers being 46% of the gamer population was incorrect because the studies don't differentiate game genres and platforms. I knew that the genre and platforms view was different.
People were so mad at me. Not mad, but it's like, hey, just letting you know 46% is in it. And it's like, hey, just letting you know 46. I still, you know what? If I go and look through my comments now, someone today will tell me that the 46% thing is mobile games. I will never make that mistake again.
Between males and females, but I didn't feel like it mattered in the context of what I was talking about. I was fine just being charitable.
Yeah, I think there are differences in male and female depending on the game. Women like MMOs. So I think in...
Oh, she did it there.
In that area, the 50-50 split is about right. But I do think that's a good point to bring up. Different genres and platforms have different player bases. So.
Exact same stats, yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's good. I'm glad that she started using stats. Like, I don't mean that as a knock on her, but like, it makes it way easier to have a conversation.
I feel like where he's trying to go with this is to say that, oh, all of the 50% of the female players are gonna be like Candy Crush mobile games, you know?
No, I'm going to read the statistics and they'll tell me what it is. It's like, I don't pick the study to fit what I say. In fact, This study wasn't one that I chose. This was one that came up in the like someone said, hey, the stats are wrong for this. And I said, oh, okay, do you have better stats? And then they showed me this one. And then I read the study. I confirmed that it recognizes its bias. It has its method, and it was a well-researched, it was good research. So that's why I used it. But I didn't, I think I actually say it in the video, I didn't know what it was going to say before I read it. Or like, I didn't look for stats that confirm my view. I picked one, I was using one that was given to me.
I like strategy and RPGs. Deep lore games good too. Yes, I love games with good lore. I'm such a lore nerd when it comes to games.
It clearly does seem to matter to a lot of you, so here we go. I suppose I should explain that in terms of business and marketing. A video game is a video game, but this isn't true within the hobby. For example, games like Candy Crush are wholly rejected by the gaming community. We're going to have a look at a study by Quantic Foundry that sampled 270,000 gamers. Within the sample size, there were only 18.5% female participants because the study was biased towards core gamers, meaning that the study required you to click a button called Gamer Motivation Profile to be in the study. So here's the breakdown by genre. So we can see that females dominate match 3 games and family and farm sims, which is, yeah.
I knew it! I knew I was gonna touch on that. Yeah, I don't consider that game. I think if the survey itself was already incredibly skewed, then...
No, I don't think it's incredibly skewed. Saying that, how to say, every study should write under a bias and tell you what the bias is. There isn't anything as a there's no such thing as a study that doesn't have a bias, and it's important to have that information to use it. But I think people say, oh, it has a bias, as in like a bias is a binary thing, as if there are studies that don't have a bias, which they don't exist. The 18.5% is, I mean, think about how the study was entered. People pressed on a button that had a label on it. It wasn't filtering out women. It's just anyone could click on it. It's just only 18.5% of women chose to click on it.
then this data isn't reliable.
Anyways, I doubt that match
It doesn't actually mean that.
3 is relevant to the sexualization discussion. The highest genre I can find that perceivably even has sexualization as a consideration would be high fantasy MMOs at 36%. Remember that
That's like, so do we only count the stats if it is 50%? You see, like it's like a it's almost like so the stats only matter if they agree with you.
females are already at 18.5%, so this number is very low. Anyways, I think if anything, this strengthens my original argument that it's not lucrative to use targeted sexualization to sell to females considering the difficulty and the size of the demographic. I know that that's not what women want to hear, I understand, but I'm speaking from a purely business perspective. I do care, I'm just not going to lie.
I want to bring this back to the very start of this video, where he said that his wife was into the Nikkei jiggles.
But she has not spent a single cent on them.
And now he's going back to women don't like sexualization.
I didn't say that.
Make up your minds. I don't know.
That's what you think, Liv? Yeah. Secretly, my wife is emptying our bank accounts on Nikkei. It's like, why can't we keep our savings anymore? We're gonna have to take out another credit card. I don't use credit cards.
He's just giving a personal opinion here, I feel. And that's
Opposite way around. I'm reading the statistics.
fine. But I think a lot of us do enjoy the sexualization. His wife included. His wife enjoys it. I'm just saying.
Don't try and take my wife as your ally. She enjoys the jiggles. She doesn't buy it, though. That's what I'm talking about.
His one sample size from his real life.
This is a you people moment. What do you mean, the one sample size from my real life? What do you mean, Virus? My wife isn't the only woman in my life. I think I've already demonstrated this a lot. But it's a weird assumption.
Anyways, the recorded motivators for playing video games are also different. For females, the 4 highest motivators were completion, fantasy, design, and community. Whereas for males, the highest motivators were competition, destruction, completion, and fantasy.
For me, personally, story, challenge, design. That would be my personal motivation.
Okay.
Can't speak for everyone, but story is very, very high up for me. I enjoy a game with a good story.
I think everyone does.
Challenge, I play through Dark Souls. I'm a Torum player.
Okay.
The unfairness in Torum. So for me, it would be a little different than what the statistics show. I'm like, no competitiveness? Yeah. This definitely doesn't apply to everyone. My sample size, being chat, is also
Of course it doesn't apply to everyone. There are stats for the other things, so like other people voted on the other stats, just not a lot of them.
probably skewed because, you know, you guys watch me, which what I cover are mainly story-focused games, to be honest. So my own sample size is a little skewed based on my own, like, usual content. And I am aware of that. But none of the statistics that have been brought up in part 1 or part 2 actually tracks with me or with chat.
What does that have that's not relevant?
Moving on, I think it's just
Like, I'm not saying like your opinion is not relevant. I'm saying that okay, so you don't relate to the statistics. That doesn't make it not true. It's like a completely different two different statements. Is it not the other way around? In what way do you mean? The stats not relating to you is more like you not relating to the stats. Yeah. Yes, yeah.
just common sense that people choose not to engage with things they don't enjoy. No one is forcing these women to play within the male-dominated subgenres, and if they are choosing the ones that they like. So who is left? Who are these females that are not buying or playing the games, but somehow they're watching all the sexualized content and feeling oppressed? I'll give you a hint. It's the people that read and adopted the studies that are rooted in political.
It is literally Twitter. It is.
No, you can read the same things on YouTube and Reddit. And you can see them in real life too. I mentioned that I have married friends that have different situations that are rooted in those views, though. That's the thing. I find it very difficult to even have this conversation in a real life circumstance unless I'm talking with a bunch of degenerates. I'm not saying that you should have this conversation with like your grandma or whatever, but there is resistance. Like it's he's calling us degenerates. Accept what you are. There is genuine resistance. There is.
It is literally Twitter. Twitter complaining again.
Can confirm. Yeah. I mean, you kind of like hinted at it earlier. Men are less likely to show that they play Nikkei. It's far more acceptable for women to do it. And it's because we're worried about what other people will think of us for it. Because people do think that if we play that game, we want to fuck that character. And like, I don't think that'll ever change. I think that'll be true forever. But like, it's actually further. We all want to have sex with that character, and we want to treat other women like that. They do think that. Not they, and they by they I mean like, there are people that exist that do think that. Now you and me might not be that virus, but like, it does exist.
Big surprise. But yeah, I am not sure how accurate these statistics are in the first place, because nobody ever asked me.
Click on the statistics. Click on them. Click on them and read them.
I do all the surveys in Nikkei, but aside from that, nobody ever asked me, so, you know, we're an anomaly.
No one asked me either. I didn't do any of these surveys either.
I don't think you are, honestly. Maybe a minority. Yeah, I think like the hardcore sweaty gamers would not be in my chat. Because I don't cater to that demographic, you know? So that's the bias of us, basically. It's whatever demographic I personally cater to will be naturally attracted to my content and will be in my chat, right? I like
Yes.
casual games like Shin Megami Tensei. Ah, yes, the casual Shin Megami Tensei. Even in the Shin Megami Tensei series, I'm a fucking casual because I just play Persona.
Studies that show
What demographic do you cater to? Well, currently VTuber React content. I don't know. This might be why I'm a bad streamer. Because I like to play a pretty large variety of games. I like to keep current with the gaming news as well. But yeah, pretty much degenerates, I think.
less evidence for expectancy effects tended to find less evidence for effects. And yeah, you can say, oh, it's in the advertising and game trailer reveals everywhere, but at what point do we acknowledge
I want to play Dragon's Crown on stream.
our own agency, and why is everyone else responsible for what you choose to look at? They're not projecting holograms into your living room and taping your eyelids open against your will. I feel crazy even explaining.
I don't know who he's talking to is the problem. Because
It's not a problem. I'm not talking to you because you already agree with me, so I don't have like an argument or a proposition to you. But again, there are people that think this, and you do need to take this off the table so that they don't bring it up, so that you can move on and then talk about the next thing.
did anyone actually say that? Is this a made-up argument? I don't
No, it's not. Check my comments.
really understand who exactly he's talking to. Is it literally just the people who are complaining on Twitter? Because that's not the majority. I don't feel like I'm the target audience.
Okay,
for
yeah,
this.
she realizes it.
Because I watch this and I'm like, yeah, I can choose which game I play and which one I don't, but I'm also not against sexualizing characters in video games, you know? So I don't have any problems. Like, I'm good, I'm chilling. So, but he's stating this like he's talking to the people who are complaining, so I am just not the target audience for this, I suppose.
Yes.
Not to mention that most advertising is tailored to your own viewing habits. Failing all of that, everything that has a screen also has a power button that you can use to turn it off. Also, it's kind of a major red herring. Over your lifespan, you see far more average, normal-looking people by the definition of the word average than you ever do on a screen. I know not everyone is smart, but I think most people are smart enough to notice the overwhelming evidence walking around them every day.
Okay, first of all, I don't go outside. Second of all, the social media does influence your perception of yourself. Not
Does social media influence your perception of yourself? Or is it that you have a poor perception of yourself and social media takes advantage of that? Because I'd argue that even if you remove social media, we had this discussion earlier, if you remove social media, people with poor body image will compare themselves to something else. It's just that social media is very effective. It's like a portal for people to pull out any image and compare themselves to. So it's like really good. Bad. It's really bad. But it's not social media itself.
video games, because obviously video games are video games.
If you want, like, what I think is the solution to this is, I think that it is more a problem with education. And like this is going to be my like tinfoil hat take. Like people are going to really judge me for this, but people don't know how to lose and gain weight. We don't teach that in school. And it's not even practiced. It allows a lot of taboo and kind of like we in the West, we think we're not susceptible to wives' tales and things like that, but we're extremely susceptible to it because we are fundamentally not educated in the sense of like how to eat, what is possible. I mean, we're having this conversation now because most people don't know what's possible and what's not possible, and how to actually influence your body. Most people don't know how to manipulate their body. Isn't that weird that we don't teach that in school? Now, how you do that, I don't like. It's there's a lot of things that you would have to navigate to like train that. But there is a practical side to it where you actually need to practice it for a little bit of time, maybe between 2 years to fully understand it. So, and then if everyone has the realizations like, oh, so if I do this, my body weight goes up. If I do this, my body weight goes down. You don't have to do anything with it, but now you know. And like, it's if you have those tools and you know what's possible with your own body, you probably have a kinder view of yourself. Because I think what I find with most people is once they engage with it, they find that they actually really like their bodies. And they actually become proud of what they can achieve. So I think on a fundamental thing level, like you'll always have people with body image issues, but a lot of people are suffering from a lack of knowledge about how their body, what they can even do with it. The other side of it, well, yeah, there's no other side of it. I was just thinking about how we don't actually teach people how to exploit taxes, but it's kind of this, it's expected that once you become an adult, you need to learn how to use a government's taxes to the fullest, but you never are taught it in school. That's another example. It's a little odd that I don't know how to turn myself into something efficient for certain scenarios physically. Yeah. And people will say like, oh, go to gym, but it's not really that simple, is it? Like you need to be able to learn how macronutrients work, calorie counting. Like there's other options. You can do intermittent fasting, and this isn't something that's made up. This is something that is very scientific, and there's a lot of data on it. So like, I think being able to know that stuff is I think pretty important. I think it's pretty important, and I think it dispels a lot of the myth behind stuff. I think people are also becoming more aware of Photoshop and how people tweak photos as the technology becomes more household. But yeah.
But social media definitely influences.
It's more or less that we view our bodies as definitive to who we are rather than as a tool we have. Yeah, it's true. Parents actually need this training a lot because how you eat as a child up until about puberty determines a lot of how your hunger hormones will affect you all through your life. So if you have parents that are large, they're going to not teach you well, probably, in like what portions to eat, and therefore you'll also be large. So like there is a genetic predisposition effect of it, but a lot of it is because your parents eat large portions, you eat large portions because they think that that's what you need, so you then also look like them.
Your perception of yourself. So I don't think it's as simple as, oh, you have normal looking people around you every day, so you shouldn't like have any incentive to compare yourself to what you see online.
I think that's exactly it. I like as a social perspective. Why are you looking there? I want to recognize that people do look there, but why? Why are you doing it?
That's just not true. Even, and I touched on this topic in the last video, but even before social media was really a thing, you'd compare yourself to models in magazines. So this isn't a new thing. This is something everyone does, and I'm gonna assume men do it too, so I don't know where this is coming from.
I purposely steer away from terms like male and female gaze. You'll also never hear me use the word woke or incel on YouTube unless I'm trying to explain them as academic concepts. My reasoning behind this is that these terms are often used in political causes, and they have developed loaded meanings that instantly make people defensive. And sure, there are people out there that have read and understand Laura Mulvey's essay from the 70s, but
Me freely calling people incels.
I don't have anything against other people using the words, but I think that if you want to have a conversation and keep things civil, you need to steer away from those. Because you don't choose how people feel about them, which is the mistake you made with calling me misogynistic, because like you didn't know, you have an idea of how I should feel about it, but that's clearly not how I felt about it.
It's just, if you act like an incel, I'm gonna call you an incel. You know? I don't think being completely secluded from society necessarily makes you an incel. And there's women who fall under that term too, don't get me wrong. The deep
I didn't even know that.
hatred for women that stems from entitlement. And I don't know if that's a political term or not.
I don't know either.
I'm not political. I don't go into politics. I don't read or hear a lot about politics.
Don't let anyone that's into politics hear you say that, because then they will say everything is politics, and like, yes, they're technically right, but it's like, it's annoying.
Don't care for politics.
Laura Mulvey's essay titled Visual Pleasure and Narrative Cinema is the birthing point of the male gaze. What's also important to note is that feminists are not in agreement that the female gaze even exists. This argument exists under the premise that if a female—
Oh, no. If the male gaze exists, the female gaze definitely exists.
So it's not my perspective, it's the perspective of feminists. So other I presume women. Like, Laura Mulvey actually doesn't posit that the female gaze exists. Then later on, other feminists posited that it did, but there's no consensus on it. I don't know, like, take it up with them. Everything is politics, but not everything is explicitly politics. Yeah.
Do I need to bring up another screenshot of Solo Leveling?
He looks fantastic. But it's got nothing to do with me.
Yeah, some people are only able to see from their own perspective.
Is she saying that about me? I feel... No, I'm telling you what feminists say. Don't attribute that to me. I don't know, and you skip... She skipped the best part of my video. That was, like, literally the best part. Was, like, how, it's rooted in pseudoscience. Like, that was, like, the best part of the video. I was explaining why I don't use the words male gaze and female gaze. I don't necessarily disagree, like, I just don't use the words because people assume that I'm using it in the feminist term. And I'm not using it in the feminist term.
Rather than...
And also, people using it also don't know what they're talking about. Actually, she's one of them that doesn't know what she's talking about. Like, I don't know if it's one of those things where it's become synonymous and now the meaning has changed, but that essay from the 1970s is where it comes from. That's the root of it. And the female gaze is a term that doesn't have a consensus on it. And it is rooted in a pseudoscience. So, if you're using the words, I don't know, you should know what they mean. You should either know what they mean, Or I think you probably owe the explanation of what you mean by them.
Look at things from, a wider perspective. I always try my best to see things from a male perspective, and it's a little easier for me since, 97% of my viewers are male. I talk to you guys a lot. I get your perspectives when you guys engage with me through chat or through Discord, Some people cannot, and it becomes somewhat delusional at some point if you state facts or what you believe are facts, and they're literally just your own opinion.
They're not my opinion. It's what feminist. It's a feminist theory.
Whatever serves you the most, but that
It doesn't serve me at all. Yeah.
I don't think that's a majority of people. That is, again, literally just Twitter,
Male is the actioning element, they are simply playing the role of the male within the male gaze. Now, what people often gloss over is that Laura's work here is heavily dependent on theories based in psychoanalysis developed by Sigmund Freud.
Here it is.
Under the introduction is A Political Use for Psychoanalysis.
The female gaze isn't real because women just place themselves in the shoes of men, so it's still the male gaze. That doesn't make any sense. That's saying women cannot be horny.
That's not what the psychoanalysis is much deeper than that. But I do agree with her.
That is not true. That is not.
I'm so glad that I actually freaked out and thought that she missed this part, and now here it is. I'm so happy.
True in any way, and I think what's even the point of denying it? Did you just assume her gender? No, okay, hold on. I have the statistics and I will put it in the video. YouTube assumed your gender. I'm sorry, that wasn't me, okay?
I think the default position of male tastes being bad and female tastes being good is fundamentally a poor starting point for objectivity or compassion. I'm going to widen the scope a bit. I know I'm cheating, but I want to let you have a look at the female perspective from a male point of view by opening up the emotional exchange.
The female perspective?
Oh, yeah, okay. She did actually skip the part about the pseudoscience. That was important to the message.
From a male point of view. Did he say he was for or against that? Because
I don't think... I'm getting there.
Because if it's the point of just trying to see things from a different perspective, even though that perspective is not your own, then I'm fine with that.
Back to the wristwatch study I mentioned, there's a small detail in there. Females exclusively only approve of the sexual content when the female is the benefactor of the commitment. Or I'll say it another way. A gift used as a sign of commitment only mattered if it was for them. Another detail that I left out of the video was that the only complaint of the males in the study is that they found the gift giving demoralizing because it was a reminder that they had to pay for sex. But my objective here is to get us back to neutral ground. I don't think that the male perspective on the issue is any more or less damaging than the female one until you narrow the scope to the shallows of physical appearance and project real-life expectations on fiction. Reflecting back, I think the most valid and honestly heartbreaking comment was that in all of this, we look at the past, we look at OnlyFans participators, we look at the political drivers, but the reality is that the actual female gamers that just want to play games in peace are largely talked over. And yeah, I somewhat agree. They don't really have a say in their own thing.
It's interesting that she didn't really have anything to say about... I thought she would have something to say about what I said about how males view that wristwatch study thing. It's completely cut out here, so we don't get to see what... she either didn't have anything to say about it, or something happened and she had to cut it from the video. But that's a pity. I would have liked to have heard her reaction on it.
For me personally, I'm just a guy in front of a computer. I've never opened my mouth on this issue once in my life. Not online, not in person. This will be my last video on the issue for a while because I think I've said my piece and I'm realizing that I could spend my entire life drilling down and clarifying what I'm saying, and there will still be people that will mince my words, cherry pick isolated sentences, or make up entire essays on my point of view on what I didn't say. I'm sorry, but are you a mind reader? I don't see myself as all males, but a lot of you certainly act like I am every male interaction you've ever had.
Okay, and this is also from the perspective of someone who is a content creator. When you talk about a topic like this, you open yourself up to criticism, and you are considered to be talking from a wider perspective rather than just your own. which obviously isn't true, but that's how my comments treat me as well when I talk about sensitive or like kind of sensitive subject.
I think that she thinks that I'm making a complaint. I'm not making a complaint. I'm critiquing the comments. That's my critique of them.
That's just unfortunately something you're going to have to deal with as
Yeah, I dealt with it by pointing it out.
a content creator. And when this video gets out, I'm gonna get shit in the comments again. I always do, but you know that's the life of a content creator. That's what
true.
what you do to yourself when you post content online. Unfortunately, and I'm not saying it's right. It's not. It's frustrating, and it just makes your day worse when you read that, especially when you're a smaller content creator.
Amen. Yes. We are in agreement.
And you're keeping up with your comments. It can definitely ruin your day. But you know that's a risk you take when you talk about sensitive subjects that people highly disagree on the internet. When this video comes out in the edited form, please do comment stuff like "you're a dumb bitch" or anything in that narrative in the comments to confuse the people who comment without actually watching the video.
I don't know how that works. But yes, a lot of people comment on my video. They don't watch they're literally reacting to the thumbnail and the title, which to me is just, you probably don't have enough IQs to make up a number.
I would like to confuse as many people as possible if they don't get to this point in the video. Again, like, I understand being frustrated about people misunderstanding your point, and I'm pretty sure I misunderstood some of his.
You did misunderstand some of my points, but I'm glad you made I'm glad you made the reactions. I really I really am happy that she did this.
Points in the first video as well. Like, I'm not innocent of that. But
see, she knows it. She's a good egg.
It's not meant as like criticism, like personal criticism. It's more meant to
probably should steer away from a misogynistic then.
to open the conversation up, which is also why I'm streaming this live with chat, so you guys can discuss things with me, like have a say in this, so it's not just my perspective, it's your perspective too. Yeah, I understand that it's frustrating, but that's kind of what you open yourself up to when you make content online.
The reality is that my view is
100%
just my view, and it's not perfect. For example, one thing it cannot do is give a voice to real female gamers. I wish it could, but it's a million times not my place. Within all the cries...
this part of the video is actually a mention that would apply to her. In fact, when I wrote the script, this was actually a comment that a woman made, that I repurposed to be the ending of the video. So, like, some of this aren't my words, but I actually used this woman's comment. She made the point that we discussed the political drivers, the OnlyFans stuff, and that we that the female gamers are ignored in the process. And I believe like someone like Virus you're included in that. Yeah, just wanted to share that.
Is about the complexity of the problem. I just feel this overwhelming middle management sentiment of, it's too hard to fix, someone else needs to do their part, and then we can think about the problem some more. It's an email I read every day, and it makes me so tired. Maybe I'm wrong about everything, but I don't care as long as I convince just one of you to kick off your journey on making your very first game.
This is also...
And boobs are great! Just... Anyways, Command and Conquer jump scare. Yeah, she paused right before it. Yeah, I know. I'm so sad about it. This is so like you'll see comments on the video that are like paragraphs and paragraphs about how I didn't analyze the problem enough. or like expanding on how big the problem is and how interwoven it is with our society, how intersectional it is. They always use the buzzwords. But the problem I have with those is that they never give you a solution. There's never anything for anyone to actually do that's practicable today. That's why I make these I made these videos with the aim of getting people off their ass to actually make a move. I really do think it will work. I think some people say, oh, if we increase women solo devs, it won't work. But like, how do you know? And then isn't it just a positive? It's a net positive overall. Like, it might not be the perfect step, but it's a positive step. I think definitely in terms of how left politics criticizes right politics. On the right side, often you have people defending the status quo, and the problem with them is that they never do anything about the problems. And that's why like left politics is very attractive, because it gives people something to do about the problems. But they also tend to be things that are destructive. Like, you have to tear things down to then reconstruct them. I'm trying to give something for people to do that doesn't tear down what's already built. That's it. I think it'll work, but you'll get a lot of people kind of saying that there's a problem alongside that. Oh yeah, there'll always be people that will complain no matter what. Like I said, people are a mixture of cats in water. Like, I know on a very low level, I manage people, so I know.
So why I'm reacting to these videos, because my perspective is the perspective of a female gamer. I've played video games since I was 4 years old. I've always enjoyed specific genres of video games. So I can give my perspective on that, which is a different perspective.
Well, I enjoy video games of specific and non-specific genres. No, sorry, I'm just being an asshole.
Have different perspective from his perspective, and it just kind of opens the conversation up. But overall, I think it's important if you're going to address issues, and I don't think this is a real issue. I'm going to be real honest with you. I don't think this is a real issue.
I agree that I don't think it's a real issue, in the sense that I don't think it's the danger and urgency is there. But I do think that you need to remove, as I said, like, you need to remove the toys from the table to stop the toddler playing with them. If I made a more straightforward video, people will use all the things I didn't say to attack me. And even with two quite, I think, fairly successful and well-constructed videos, like, I know what the like ratio is and how well it's doing. So, like, I don't mean that in a bragging way, but I've come away quite unscathed. So I think I've done a fairly good job by the metrics of setting up the discussion. Yeah. I enjoy video games that are wholly uncategorized. Beat that.
This is a made-up issue by Twitter.
I don't think it's, yeah, so, like, I think that she thinks it only exists in video games, but it's a part of our it has become a part of our culture in the West, specifically. I mean, you can see it. Why do people talk about how games are better in Japan? And how we can't have nice characters anymore. Like, Western games don't make good characters anymore that people like. Only people that are on Twitter like them. It does have an effect. Even if it is a minority, it's worth removing removing those things of like, yes, actually it doesn't cause misogyny. Actually, you can be responsible for yourself. You need to remove those things before you can have a constructive argument. You need to remove those things before you can have a constructive conversation.
But if you're going to make a discussion about things that might be, sensitive like this, I think that it's good to have different perspectives, But yeah, I think...
I agree. This is what I wanted. You're playing into my plan, Virus. Thank you, by the way.
This is where I'm gonna end the stream. We had a good discussion again, over 2 hours. I'm gonna edit this into a video. Again, don't...
Scruffy gave her £10. That's really nice of him. Or her.
Don't be afraid to leave any troll comments for me, just to confuse people who don't actually watch the video. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. I'm gonna pass out after this, and I will see you next time.
I will also pass out after this.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. All right, I think that's actually...
Careers have changed forever. The end of a 40...
Hello, Asmund. Welcome to my stream. How are you doing? Nice to meet you. This has been a long time coming. I wasn't expecting this, but here we are. So, just go straight into an Asmongold react, and I don't. Careers have changed forever. Yeah, we're not doing that.